It's the last stream of September 2025. Welcome to the stream, Morning to you as well. Morning, morning, morning. Holy shit, September 30th. It's, oh god, the year is almost no more. Is that how you would say it? Is that how you put it? Welcome to this Tuesday night stream. That's right. We're reading Higurashi. It is the last arc of Higurashi of any real substance. There's a couple one-off things at the end, but this is the last one of multiple days, multiple streams. This is it. Enjoy it while you can. Because when it's over, it's over. You won't be able to do anything else. I don't know why I say it like that. You won't be able to do anything else? I don't know exactly what I mean by that. Sounds like a threat. Sounds like I'm presenting a threat. It sounds like a threat has been happening. But yeah, this is... Here I go. I'm going to try to pronounce it and probably pronounce it wrong. Kotohogushi. Which I don't know what... You know, the last couple of arcs... Really, we were in the advanced arc section for so long with the same established characters over a overarching, like, stretch there for, like, several months. To now it feels weird to be reverting back to, like, this is purely, like, side story, whatever. Like, it feels a little weird. But we have to put pedal to the metal because we gotta knock out Higurashi. Okay, little peek behind the curtains because I joke about like the schedule here on this channel sometimes. A lot of the time, sometimes I talk about this, and I never am able to actually keep to any of the schedule I actually plan. And I only let loose like maybe like 10% of scheduling on this channel, and then there's like 90% you just don't see ever. But I'm being honest when I say this. By mid-October, I want to have finished everything with Higurashi. I want to have finished Silk Song. I will want to have finished Consumi, because we started playing that. I will want to have finished Ghostwire Tokyo. All these need to be done by mid-October. And I just got done saying that we're the last day of September. So I don't know how possible this is. I really don't. And there are multiple reasons why like I'm giving myself like mid-October as a thing. But I believe that if we all join hands in like a circle formation and we all kind of just believe with as much belief as your body can hold that that schedule that I just said, that hope that I finish all this stuff by mid-October is gonna work. No, you don't have a choice. You don't have a choice. If you heard me say it either live or on the VOD, it's kind of like the Dragon Ball Spirit Bomb. You gotta like give me your energy and then it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. No. Don't cast negative energy. That's not allowed. That's not allowed. Don't do that. Don't be a hater. My channel is specifically for non-haters, you know? I need non-haters. Non-haters. I'm just trying to be a positive person over here. God. You know? If I don't have myself in my own corner, who do I have? No one. Oh! Village looking on fire. Kotohogushi. Celebration. This arc can be read after completing Chapter 8 Matsubarayashi and Mitsukushi Emote or Mitsukushi PS2. Hey, look at that. We finished Chapter 8, and we read both Emote and PS2. I'm like a triple good. A legend of Hanyu's distant past. Oh, we're going back in time. When Hinamizawa was still known as Onigifuchi Village. Well, doesn't that sound like fun? To progress forward, we must go back in time. To see where it all started. Now, the real test here is, do we like Hanyu as a character enough to be like, yeah, I want Hanyu's origin story. Give me Hanyu origin. Give me a Hanyu origin, please.
それはとても古い昔のおとぎ話。
This is a fairy tale from long, long ago.
ほんの少しの違いによって生まれたとある不思議な物語。
A mysterious tale created from the smallest difference. I gotta adjust mic, I'm sorry.
誰かのために懸命
Ooh,
に
that's a good sound. A tale of the bonds of a family
誰かのために懸命に願った。
who lived earnestly for others. Also, I would like to point out before we get too into this, made food earlier. Obviously, that's what you do. To eat dinner, you make food. The food I had, I made grilled onions, and I currently have probably a small piece of grilled onion like stuck in my teeth that I'm too lazy to like go to the bathroom or restroom and like get out of my teeth. But I want the record to show that I'm reading with a handicap right now, because it's very troublesome when you have like a piece of food stuck in your teeth that you can't get, but like you're reading out loud. So any reading mistakes I make tonight, let's just blame that, alright? A tale of the bonds of a family who lived earnestly for others
一つの家族の絆の物語。
and prayed earnestly for others. Oh, I can't wait for Hanyu origin story. It was a truly gruesome sight. The plants were burned. The earth was scorched. Ashes danced in the scorching fumes, the crimson blaze illuminating the dark night as it incinerated the plants, the houses, and the fields. And the ground itself was littered with piles of corpses that had been reduced to flesh and blood. Vast fear and despair dwelled in the area, the stench of death turning into hideously scorched deposits as far as the eye could see. Grrr. Grrr. I tried. Countless roaring behemoths stood tall surrounding the flames. Long sharp claws grew from their arms, muscular as tree trunks. Their mouths were torn to their ears, bearing their sharp, ominous fangs. They were a clan accompanied by many companions and servants, and boasted absolute power that struck fear into the hearts of innumerable villages, a so-called clan of demons. On mere whims, they would attack villages, wreck crop fields, and slaughter and massacre men and beasts alike. To powerless humans, these creatures were to be avoided at any cost. Many of those very demons were sliced limb from limb and pierced straight in the heart, reducing them to chunks of meat that littered the landscape. A literal pile of corpses. If any epitome of the word nightmare existed in this world, it would be the spectacle that had just unfolded right then and there. Having always believed themselves to be the strongest, they couldn't accept this reality. Thus they were rooted in place in confusion, or rather, fear. An even larger demon emerged from a short distance behind the other demons. The humans in the village called it the Chief, for it understood human language and could suppress its murderous instincts, yet it also possessed far greater power than the other demons. Furthermore, the demons followed its orders as their leader, believing and never doubting its absolute might and menace. Grrr. But this time the Chief's low growls contained an echo of bewilderment, as well as fear that went beyond that. They were already on the level shivers, which only grew stronger after it recognized the presence moving from within the roaring hot flames. I would expect nothing less of the strongest Putus observer. Putus? Putus? Pu... Pu... Putus?
この程度では倒せぬか。
Of course, this wouldn't be enough to defeat her. Despite that, the demons all gaze sinisterly at the blazing wall of flames to ward off their unrest, roaring as they bared their claws and fangs at the ready. All their muscles were bursting to their limits, filled with atrocious power. Their violent instincts swelled so much that all their joints creaked. However, their bodies quivered, and their hearts pounded all the more fiercely. The ceaseless beads of sweat that dripped down their entire bodies weren't simply from the flames and the intensity of the fight. Oh shit, it's Yisomu. Doesn't look familiar at all. Eventually a figure emerged from the flames and revealed its form. Its cloak fluttered with its calm steps as its long bluish-purple hair danced in the wind. Furthermore, a pair of sharp, ominous horns were sticking out of its head exactly like the demons. It slowly but surely walked across the charred earth, stepping out in front of the demons. At first glance, it appeared to have the dainty stature of a human woman, but its slender arm gracefully held a dully shining sword as long as a willow leaf. And even at this moment, its tip was dripping with copious and seemingly endless amounts of fresh blood. At that moment, one of the building's few remaining pillars crumbled and instantly added to the strength of the fire. The empowered flame lit the figure's back, and the moment its expressionless face was illuminated, the demon shuddered. It was unbelievable. No, it shouldn't have been believable. It was completely unharmed. Its breathing was unperturbed, and its face reflected not even a hint of tension. The only signs of anything abnormal were the splatters of mud and blood on its cloak. And its concealed eyes, steeped in scarlet, were sharp and cold. It stared hauntingly at the row of demons, with a gaze so cruel it made them flinch.
必殺を期した罠もまるで役立たずか。
It's like our death trap didn't accomplish anything. It made doubly sure they'd been prepared for the ambush, and things proceeded just as envisioned. They lured it into the village official's estate that they had been using as a base, and surrounded the residents with overwhelming numbers. Then, when the time was ripe, they activated the explosive they'd set, blowing the ground to smithereens. In exchange, half of their forces, unable to evacuate in time or with no time at all, were engulfed by the flash and the shockwave, vanishing without a trace. And it would have had its avenues of escape blocked by the demons, resulting in either death or fatal injury. At least that had been the plan. However,
これがお前たちの言っていた
so this is
奥の手か
your so-called trump card? That face, illuminated by the flames, held not the slightest indication of pain, much less emotion. There was no anger, no pity, not even a smile, and its glistening jade eyes were stained blood red. Those very eyes shot a glare as sharp as a blade at the demons, exuding a fierce light.
化け物め。
Damned monster!
仮にも竜雲18杯の一人ジェダの加盟を継ぐ我が身
Perhaps my appearance betrays this fact, but I am the successor of the Jadeha family name, one of the 18 oh boy. Ruin Highs. High? One of those.
そなたら下道に落ちた者の小賢しき手にかかるほど落ちぶれてはおらぬ
I am not so enfeebled as to be felled by shrewd tactics from fiends such as yourselves.
とはいえ従う者たちの命さえもたばかって蒔絵にするとは
However, perhaps it was too capricious of me
水郷も過ぎるがな
to conspire to use even the lives of those who follow you as bait. Unable to bear their fear and despair, the bewildered demons roared and charged at it. At Jidha. One of those as well. They ran like the wind, closing the gap at speeds too fast for eyes to perceive. As soon as they approached, they swung their giant claws, bared their sharp fangs, and swooped down on her.
一斉攻撃か
A simultaneous attack, is it?
悪くない
Not bad. They would use their numbers and strength to catch their opponent by surprise, then launch a fierce onslaught that wouldn't give her time to muster her battle spirit or even counterattack. The resulting bewilderment would impair her judgment. That indecision sprouting from hesitation would disrupt her attention.
だが
And yet, oh, she's gonna pull off a cool move. Oh, we got nice growling sound effects.
力の差を見抜けなくてはただの蛮勇だ
Failing to perceive the difference in power between us makes you nothing but brutes. Jira's sword slashes were imperceptible to the naked eye. They merely left after images that were burned into the retinas. But not even the chief's eyes could tell how Jidha? I'm gonna go Jidha, alright? I'm probably wrong. Well, it's easy to say. Had swung her sword, or even how she'd slayed her opponents. Furthermore, a few seconds later, the air shook with delayed slash gusts and death cries. And the air shook over and over again at the same moment the sounds were heard. The demons had been cut down, one after another. If I'm pronouncing it wrong, just blame the onion, the grilled onion that's stuck in my teeth. A figure clearly approached, taking one calm step at a time. Dark red clouds of blood splattered, danced, and dispersed in tune with those footsteps. The raw, iron-like stench surely grew thicker and thicker. Yow! Occasionally, that figure swayed from side to side, like a mirage, but the glint in her eyes remained unwavering, filled with brilliant radiance that pierced the chief like an arrow. This unrealistic sight was like a dream. Yes, like something straight out of a nightmare. Faced with that, the chief's body froze up, with even its breath and thoughts grinding to a halt. Before long, when the chief himself could finally hear those breaths that were unlike his own,
No!
what? Jida suddenly stopped. Said it once. With that short breath, Jida shook the blood from her sword and pointed the tip at the chief. When he finally came back to his senses and looked around, he found all his fellow demons had been slain by Jida. And so, the chief finally realized he and Jida were the only ones left standing.
やはり噂にたがわぬ
So, the rumors were really were true.
だが
However, it happened in a flash. The chief kicked off the earth and closed the gap between him and Jida in the moment she took a breath. And before his opponent even had time to take up an intercept stance, he raised his massive arms and flashed his long, sharp claws as he slashed at the figure standing defenseless right in front of him. However,
遅い
too slow. Jida had already vanished, leaving nothing but thin air for his fist to cleave as I slammed into the ground. And then,
祈るがいいゲロ
say your prayers, loud.
何
Nani? The moment he realized that whisper had come from behind him, the chief was knocked aside faster than he could turn around, in spine-tingling fear. A single flash of light shone at that moment, followed by a pregnant pause, then an ear-splitting howl of wind. And just a second later, a tree near where the chief had been standing fell to the ground with a thud.
さすがピトゥスかわされたのは久しぶりだ
Impressive, Putis. I wanna hear
さすがピトゥスかわされさすがピトゥス
Putis.
かわされたのは
What
久
about
しぶりだ
Putis? It's been a very long time since someone dodged me.
衝撃をな
The first strike, anyway. Jida flipped her hair back, and at the same time, the moment the chief felt a burning sharp pain run through his right shoulder and the base of his left leg, spurts of blood followed. He'd only dodged the first blow. Jida's plan had been to slash at him again once he broke his posture, exposing an opening. And that wasn't all. One of his arteries was severed as if that had been the target all along, gushing torrents of blood even though the wound shouldn't have been that deep.
立ち筋が見えない
I can't perceive her swordsmanship.
バカな同じピトスでこれほどの差が
We're both Putis, so how can there be such a vast difference between us? The chief trembled in shock, completely forgetting about the bleeding and immense pain. Despite them being in different positions, he was a rune, just like Jida. Ryun. Whatever, man. Just like Jida. And yet the gulf between them was deeply pronounced. Even if she was the strongest, she could be hurt once she grew exhausted, so he'd planned to whittle down her stamina and overwhelm her with numbers immediately afterwards. Yet it was only now that the chief finally realized how naive his scheme had been. Gah! Gah! The chief swung his arms wildly in excess irritation and panic. Those cleaving flashes became gales that cut through thin air. His blows gouged out the earth and left deep claw marks. But he missed. He hit no one. His desperate attack... singular attack that used all his might. And his arms, claws, and fangs had brought harrowing death and fear to this village and the surrounding settlements. Were completely powerless. What's more, his attacks weren't even dodged or parried. Why? Why can't I hit her? The chief went on a rampage, unleashing blood-curdling roars from the pit of his throat while slashing at Jida over and over again. Yes, she passed through his blows like they were mirages. He couldn't even graze her. Not her legs, not her arms, and of course, not her face, her hair dancing in the darkness, or even the cloak moving in tune with her. Furthermore, Jida slashed at every small opening he presented, piercing his limbs, breaking his joints, severing his nerves, and gradually denying him his mobility. Too slow. Right here. You're wide open. Yeah, it wasn't a matter of speed. It was something more. A difference in dimension of an ability they didn't even possess. Yeah, yelling, I'm being stabbed. Then, with the tendons in his leg sliced, nice, the chief could stand no longer and crumpled to his knees. He couldn't raise his arms anymore, let alone swing them. But Jida just calmly looked down at his tattered body from up close, pointed her bloodstained sword at his nose, and arrogantly decreed to get up. What's wrong? That all you got? That's it? That's the best you can do? No, I highly doubt it. This can't be all there is to self-proclaimed Putus, with ruined blood who sacrificed so many lives. I really do like her outfit, though. I always say I'm a sucker for three colors in a combination. I like red, I like black, I like gold. And when you mix them, we got red and black going on. It's nice. Now, hurry up and show me your true power. Get up. This is exactly why I left your claws and fangs intact. Damn her! She still has strength to spare. Rune law demands that sins be met with punishment. Therefore, you have that obligation. Much like the poor humans you've hunted and the brethren you've led to destruction. I have the obligation to be rewarded by enjoying this to my heart's content, serving as a transient comfort in my many years. That's the retribution you deserve. Yo! Tom and Jerry scream. Now rise! Then dance for me. Burn your soul and squeeze out your blood to fight. Fight as your blood's instincts tell you to. Fight with hatred and resentment. Fight. Fight. Then die by my hand. Retreat! I can't win this alone. The difference is too great. chief, no longer hiding his fear, kicked off the ground and turned around, dashing in the opposite direction of Jida. However, I couldn't run away from this fight. His speed stat wasn't high enough.
逃げる資格はお前にはない。
You've no right to run. Jida closed the gap between her and the chief in the blink of an eye, attacked from behind and pierced his lung. In that very moment, a geyser of blood erupted from his split mouth, dyeing all before him red.
ジェダの務めに未遂の文字はない。
Jida doesn't try. Jida does.
初段を下すか下されるか。
Judge or be judged.
殺すか殺されるか。
Kill or be killed.
それが監視者としての定めであり、
That's
我
the
が在郷。
that's the fate of us observers. Oh, ye.
罪なき
I don't know
こ
how to
の
read
地
that.
の弱者たちを襲い、もてあそんで殺した貴様。
You, who attacked the innocent and weak of this land, toying with them and slaughtering them.
安寧の日々を送っていた同胞たちを惑わせ、狂気へと駆り立てた貴様。
You, who tricked our brethren that were living in peace, goading them into violence.
その罪は重く、許しがたし。
That sin is grave and all but unforgivable.
ゆえに、これまでの過ちを記憶から掘り起こし、苦しみ、もだえながらしばしの時間、
Thus-
自らの存在とともに在業を悔い改めるがいい。
Thus you shall recall all the mistakes you made up until this point, that suffer and agonize as you spend time lamenting your existence and your sins. Jida pulled out her sword with those words, went around in front of the chief, gasping from immense pain and lack of oxygen, and began chanting faintly. Her armored sleeve covering her left forearm disappeared, as if acting in concert with that, exposing her white skin. Furthermore, after roughly wiping her bloody blade with her cloak, Jida drew her body back to a half stance, then ran her sword down her left arm. Blood spilled from the faint wound she'd opened, staining her sword once again. Oh, she's gonna do some blood magic. Then Jida pulled her right hand back as if drawing a longbow, holding her sword aloft in a thrusting stance.
竜雲18杯の一人、ジェダの加盟を継ぐ者、竜雲クロッソス第35子の定めに従いて、そなたに問う。
I, one of the 18 rune high inheritor of the house of Jida, ask you, this in accordance with rune closest regulation number 35. Come on with all these terms.
我ら竜雲の民が天より授かりしたからは、誇り高き過去、美しき現在、そして満ち足りた未来。
Look at how her knuckles are like bending on like her ring and pinky finger. Yeah. We of the Ryun clan have been granted 3 treasure chests from the heavens. Nope, I just added the word chest. Treasures from the heavens, that makes more sense. Our proud past, the beautiful present, and a satisfying future. God! God!
なれど、掟を破りし同胞に許されるのは、そのうちの一つのみ。
However, those of us who defy the laws are given only one of those.
最後に、今一度問う。
I'll ask you only once.
そなたが欲するのは、過去か、現在か、それとも未来か。
Do you desire the past, present, or future? Gah! Gah!
助けてか。
Spare me, huh? Gah! Gah!
許してか。
Forgive me, huh? The glint in Jida's eyes sharpened and intensified with her whispers. There was no anger in it, nor joy, just her pride as an emotionless observer and executioner. Therefore,
今までに、そう愛願した連中に対して、貴様は何をした？
what did you do for all the people who begged the same of you? She had no room for compassion, nor the ear to hear out her target's pleas.
空に星を、緑に花を。
The sky has their stars, the grass their flowers,
悪しき夢には沈黙の歌。
a silent poem for wicked dreams.
貴様の未来はすでに虚無の中にあり、
Your future has already been lost to oblivion.
故にここで散れ。
As such, you will fall here and now. Yeah, no, being
ハイ
sliced.
リン、いやソムールチェル。
Hyrun. Yes, Yosomo Jira.
それが貴様の死神の名。
That's the name of your reaper.
同胞の名を汚す知れ人よ。コンパクトともに
God, she's so cool. Foolish to fire off our brethren's name. Perish along with your soul. Yeah. Yeah. It's like when you burn your hand on the stove.
これでは蘇生は無理か。
No hope of revival now, huh? Jidao looked at the face of a man lying down in the shadow of a collapsing house. He sighed. Not only had he suffered deeper wounds and blood loss than the other corpses, but his medulla oblongata had also been destroyed. Ah, the true way. Judging from the wounds littering his body, he desperately fought out of obligation to protect that which he held dear, despite possessing no combat skills.
ヤサムール・ジェダ、脱出の準備を。
Yasomo Jira, prepare to evacuate.
もうすぐ屋敷の中に仕掛けられた残りの爆薬が引火します。
The remaining explosives in the building will soon catch fire.
分かっている。
I know.
避難民はどうなった？
What are the evacuees?
問題ありません。
There is no problem on that front.
シーツェン・ジェダが追っ手をすべて撃破しました。
Shizen Jida has defeated all pursuers.
もはやグリフィスの気配はどこにも存在しません。
No lingering traces of any Griffiths remain.
そうか。
Oh boy. That's so? However, Jida defied the voice echoing directly in her brain and headed toward a room further in. During the fight, she'd sensed something in this house for but the briefest of moments.
勘が正しければ、この付近に生存者がいるはず。
If my gut's correct, there should still be survivors in these parts. Furthermore, the existence of the corpse who'd fought back with all his might just outside added credibility to the possibility. So even though Jida had been about to leave, she decided to search a little more carefully and entered the room. Suddenly, she crouched down to pick up something she just spotted on the floor. It was a small doll. There was a floorboard not too far from where it'd been lying that was sticking up slightly. Finding it unusual, Jida pried it open, found a small storeroom beneath the floorboard. She spotted a woman lying on the ground there out of the corner of her eye. The woman was protecting a baby in her arms. She was probably its mother, but the woman was bleeding heavily and had already ceased breathing. Despite that, the child seemed to be just barely alive. Jida immediately held out her arm to save it, but then she stopped midway through. Life for people in this region was by no means easy. She wouldn't go so far as to call them poor, but it took everything they had just to provide for their families. But it would take a few years just to return to the standard of living they had before this mayhem. Jida could easily imagine how an orphaned infant with no means to provide for itself in that aftermath would fare. They'd almost certainly live a life so harsh that death would be preferable.
それならば、母のそばで。
In that case, she'd leave it with its mother. That was what she told herself. And so, figuring the least she could do was give it a merciful death, Jida raised her sword. She then thrust the tip straight toward the child's throat.
ジェダ？
Jida?
リュウンウォーク。
Ryunoku. Sound like Ryunoku. Ryunoki.
この付近で生存者たちが避難した居場所はわかるか？
Do you know where the survivors evacuated to?
どうするおつもりです？
What are you planning to do?
気まぐれだ。多少脚色が必要だろうがな。
Just a whim. This whole thing could use a little dramatization. Jida took the baby from its mother's arms, then gently wiped its face covered in blood and mud. Blood and mud.
今はもう昔の話。
The story has long since come and gone.
この地に突然悪い鬼たちが遠い山を越えてやってきました。
Evil demons suddenly crossed distant mountains and arrived in this land.
鬼たちは食べ物を奪い、家畜を襲い、村人たちに悪さをして暴れ回っていました。
The demons stole food, attacked livestock, and went on a rampage doing terrible things to the villagers.
しかし村人たちは何もできませんでした。それを守ろうとした人は殺されて、生き肝を食われてしまうからです。
But the villagers could do nothing, for those who tried to defend them were killed and had their innards eaten alive.
だから村人たちはいつも家の中に閉じこもって鬼たちから隠れて暮らすようになりました。
So the villagers started living in hiding from the demons, always holed up in their houses.
夜だけでなく昼間も
Not just at night, but in the day too.
雨の日も晴れの日も
Be it rain, snow, or shine.
それでも鬼たちはまるで狩りを楽しむように人家を襲い村人を殺し続けました。
Yet the demons attacked their houses as if enjoying the thrill of the hunt and continued killing villagers.
やがて田畑から食べ物がなくなり家の蓄えも底をつきかけて
Eventually, crops vanished from the fields and families were on the verge of exhausting their stores.
彼らが死を覚悟したある日のこと、
Then one day, as they were prepared to die,
村外れの沼から一人の神様が現れたのです。
a god emerged from a swamp on the edge of the village.
神様には
I like that
鬼
picture.
たちと同じように角がありました。
The
そ
go-
のため最初は村人たちも鬼がやってきたのだと思って震え上がっていました。
The god had horns just like the demons. As such, the villagers trembled in fear at first, believing a demon had come.
でも神様が人を襲うことはありませんでした。
But the god did not attack the humans.
それどころか真剣を振るい鬼たちを次々に退治して回りついには彼らの王をも倒してしまったのです。
Instead, the god, wielding a divine blade, exterminated the demons one after another and finally defeated their king.
その後神様は山の洞穴に避難していた村人の一人の前にやってきて赤ん坊を差し出しながら言いました。
Afterwards, the god appeared before one of the villagers who had evacuated to a cave in the mountains, held out a baby to him, and spoke.
この子は我が魂の宿るものなり、
My soul dwells within this child.
故にこの子を育て血を絶やすことなく大切に敬え。
Therefore, you must raise this child with care and reverence, ensuring death does not befall it.
さすれば我はお前たちを鬼たちから守り、この村は永遠に栄えるだろう。
Do this, and I shall defend you from the demons, bring eternal prosperity to this village.
その赤ん坊は男の子でした。
The baby was a boy.
村人たちは神様がこの村を救ってくれたことに心から感謝し、その言葉通り大切に自分たちの守り神の生まれ変わりとして育てることにしました。
The villagers gave the god heartfelt thanks for saving their village, and thus took its words as law, raising the boy as a reincarnation of their guardian deity.
そして彼らは角の生えた神様がやってきた沼を鬼ヶ淵と名付け、神様によって守られたこの村はいつしか鬼ヶ淵村と呼ばれるようになりました。
And so they named the swamp the horned god had emerged from Onikafuchi, eventually calling their own village Onikafuchi Village after the god who'd protected them. The legend of Onikafuchi Village's Oishiro-sama. Are we gonna get an intro movie? No. Damn. There was a small pond through a forest not far off the path that led to Yagauchi. It was originally created when one of the outflows of a mountain stream was altered by irrigation to create new rice fields, and water accumulated in the basin. Though the stream is dammed there, the water is always clear and pristine for some reason. On the other hand, the bottom of the pond was as deep as darkness, and despite its immaculate appearance, there were no signs of any fish or insects living there, a very eerie pond to say the least. Thus, it was considered inhospitable to the villagers and not used as a daily watering hole, so hardly anyone visited it.
あれはお社様がお住まいになっている神聖な場所なのじゃ。その証拠にあれほどの清水であっても動物たちは決して口をつけようとせぬ。
That's holy ground where Oyashiro-sama dwells. The fact that no creature alive drinks from it despite the water being so clean is proof of that.
何人たりともあそこに近づいてはいかん。もしも金を破れば本人だけでなく村人全員にたたりが降りかかってくるからの。
No one is allowed to approach it. If someone were to break that taboo, not just the trespasser, but every villager will be cursed. It was a pond where the demon god Oyashiro-sama dwelled, hence the name Onigafuchi. Those superstitions became credible legends, and thus everyone from conservative elders to innocently curious children were indoctrinated to never go there. Thanks to that, the nearby forest was uncultivated, and the trees grew so thick that they blocked out the sun, creating a dark, eerie, and taboo atmosphere even in daytime.
以前の鬼たちの記憶も彼らにはまだ鮮明に残っているだろうからな。
Memories of the last demons are probably still fresh in their minds, too. I muttered that to myself as I approached the swamp and stepped forward. Next, I knelt down by the edge of the swamp and gently sank my palm on the surface of the seemingly bottomless water.
Hairun, Yasomur Jeda.
Hairun, Yosumo Jida.
ピュータスより同胞たちの査察の任を受け、この地に下されたジェダの仮面を継ぎし者。
Successor of the Jida name, assigned by the Putus to investigate fellow brethren in this area.
ライノス、リューンオークとの交信を求める。
I seek contact with Linus Ryunuk.
認証完了。
Authentication complete.
正当なるジェダと確認。
Oh, it's got voice recognition.
同調を開始します。
Legitimate Jida verified, establishing data connection and synchronization. What the hell? The hell is going on? The moment the response to that area arrived, the surface of the water sparkled in the colors of the rainbow, and a dazzling white light engulfed my line of sight. Afterwards, the scenery transformed to an indigo-hued space with my figure hovering in the center of it like a floating projection.
お久しぶりです、ジェダ。
It has been some time, Jida. Eventually, a light shined off in the dark distance, and I could hear a voice echoing directly within my brain. Ryunuk. She was an autonomous data aggregation. Okay. That possessed a will of her own. I guess I shouldn't be acting so surprised. You know, we've seen... There's been weirder things. To be more exact, she wasn't a living being, but a kind of super integrated circuit made up of several operators. An interdimensional transfer device developed by the Ryun clan, Linos, also known as a control gate. She was built to control one of the hosts, but I'd made my own improvements to her, and now she was in charge of governing the actions of me and my brethren who had assimilated around the Onigafuchi village area. And though she had no form, she learned to simulate creature-like feelings and character through her exchanges with me, based on a huge amount of knowledge and records. She had the voice and tone of an innocent little girl, but she'd existed in Onigafuchi before I was even born, and was far older than me mentally. Therefore, she was my partner of many years, and like a friend to me.
長い旅でしたね。
That was quite the long journey.
大陸に渡られるとは聞いておりましたが。
I heard you'd crossed over to the mainland.
ああ、長老たちと月に会うだけの予定だったが、その後の厄介事が意外に長引いてな。
Yeah, was just supposed to meet the elders and some acquaintances, but the trouble that followed took longer than expected.
前に会った時からどれくらい経ったか。
How long's it been since we last saw each other?
この世界の時間単位で20年と16日です。
20 years and 16 days as per the time denominations of this world.
そんなものか。
That long, huh?
この地ほど季節の差がない地域を渡り歩いてきたからな。時間の感覚がまだずれているのかもしれん。
Maybe my sense of time's still out of whack from wandering to and fro in a land like this with so little change in the seasons. I drew my sword from the sheath at my left hip as I said that, pointing the blade sideways at the light. The blade was densely coated in hardened black bloodstains and nicked in various places.
修復を頼む。
Take care of repairs.
ずいぶん無理をさせてしまったからな。
Haven't exactly been using this with care for a long time now, you see?
了解しました。
Understood. Right when Ryunuk said that, small clusters of grains emitted from the light and flew toward me. This is all so strange. They spread wide near my outstretched hand and engulfed the whole sword as if grabbing it. And I also don't know why I feel it's so strange, but I guess it's
元
just...
通りにできそうか。
It's obviously a different story type, but it's just obviously so different than like the last, like I said, several months of us reading Higurashi Advanced Arc stuff that I'm like, okay, I gotta adjust my mind here. Whatever the hell is happening here. Think you can make it good as new?
問題ありません。
No problem.
ただ完全に修復するには自転周期でおよそ10単位必要です。
However, it'll require approximately 10 rotation periods before it can be fully restored.
10単位。ほぼ打ち直しに近い期間だな。
10 rotations. It's about as long as it would take to remake it.
いえ、ほぼではなく実際に打ち直しです。
Not about. It is being remade.
分析したところ、刀身全体に血のりと油垢が何重にも固まって鋼の組織に結合してしまっています。
Upon analysis, I discovered that the entire blade is covered in multiple layers of gore and grease that have hardened and fused with the steel structure.
この状態で通常の鳩木を行っても、あなたの相場以下の鋭利度しか回復できないでしょう。
In this state, even if you perform ordinary sword sharpening, it'll end up duller than your claws when restored.
そんなにか。
That bad, huh?
それに、つば元あたりがひどくひび割れて折れる寸前です。
Furthermore, the area around the sword guard is so badly cracked that it's on the verge of breaking.
ジェダ、歯が鈍った状態のままで戦闘を無理に続行しましたね。
Jida, you kept using this in battle even after the blade had dulled, didn't you?
よくわかったな。
Sharp eye.
もう3度目ですから。
This is the third time that has happened, you know? Don't chastise me. I instinctively grimaced at that back and forth you'd normally hear from a cheeky kid. I know she's worried about my health, but it's no fun when she points it out so accurately.
相当な激戦だったのだ。仕方がなかろう。
There wasn't anything I could do about it. Those were some considerably fierce battles.
歯だけでも保っておきたかったが、人間たちの砥石では脆すぎて使い物にならなかったしな。
I wanted
それに、
to at least preserve the blade, but the humans' whetstones were so brittle that they weren't any use.
それに、
Besides,
グリフィスの血の汚れは水や布の類では洗い流すことができないでしたか？
the polluted blood of Griffiths can't be washed off with water and cloth. Wasn't that it?
確か以前もあなたから同じようなことを一度言われた記憶があります。
I think I recall you saying that once before.
それに対して私は適切な対処法をあなたの要望でお教えしたかと思いましたが。
And in response, I believe I told you the proper way to deal with it, as you requested.
そうだったか？
That right? I tried playing dumb at Ryunuke's honest reminder, but I gave up on making further excuses because the biggest reason was that I slacked off, since actually tending to the blade was a pain in the ass. Since my longtime friend's a super integrated circuit, it's only natural she'd record every little thing I say and do in our time together, so I can't talk my way out of anything with her.
次からは気をつけるようにする。
I'll be careful next time.
とりあえず、よろしく頼む。
Anyway, I'm counting on you.
了解しました。
Understood. On that response, the sword engulfed in light dissolved into particles, turning into a fist-sized sphere that danced through space before being sucked into the source of the light.
少々心もとないかもしれませんが、修復まであなたの剣をお預かりします。
You may be a tad impatient, but I will hold on to your sword until it is restored.
ここの集落にとどまる限りは、私の目と耳、そして口も届きますので、緊急の知らせがあればすぐお伝えできるでしょう。
As long as you stay in the settlement, my eyes, ears, and mouth will be able to reach you, so I'll inform you right away if any emergencies come up.
鞘にある家電結晶を媒介に使いますから、鞘だけはなるべく携行していてください。
I will use the charged crystal in the sheath as my intermediary. Whoa. So please do your best to keep it on you.
わかった。面倒をかけるな。
Got it. Sorry for the trouble.
面倒ですか？
Trouble, you say?
剣の管理は私の役割であり、そしてあなたの支援を果たすための義務です。
Managing your sword is my role, and my obligation to support you.
故に、この作業に対して消極的な思考を持つことは、私の存在意義を自ら否定するということになります。
Therefore, to adopt pessimistic thoughts regarding my work would mean denying my very reason for existing.
故に、
Therefore,
ああ、わかっている。
yeah, I know.
そういう意味ではなくてな。つまり、
It's not what I meant. It's more like... I smiled bitterly as I explained the meaning and the intent behind my gratitude, to which Ryunuk answered, I see. So far, I've taught her all sorts of meaningless ways to talk, in order to kill my boredom. It's the epitome of self-satisfaction, but it's proven useful for killing time in my long existence. Thanks to my efforts, she started lightly reprimanding me and asking me questions, rather than simply affirming my reports like in the old days.
思考回路および言語中枢を更新しました。
Thought patterns and speech centers updated.
以後対応に努めます。
I shall strive to address this issue.
ところでジェダ、大陸の任務はいかがでしたか？
She's like a shitty AI voice, like I'm training my ancient computer cloud computing system to understand normal conversation patterns. That's whatever. This is so strange. I just keep saying that. It's so strange. Incidentally, how was your mission on the mainland?
上々とは言い難いが、一段落といったところだな。
My ancient supercomputer AI voice partner. I'd be hard pressed to say it's going swimmingly, but it's not as bad as it used to be.
他のジェダたちと共にグリフィスの所在地を一通り確認して、危険区域にはできうる限りの予防策を打ってきた。
I worked with other Jedi to sniff out Griffiths and took as many precautions as possible in the danger zone.
これが機能すれば、当分グリフィスの突発的な暴走は抑止できるだろう。
If this works, then we'll be able to deter any sudden Griffiths rampages for the time being. Though some of that was admittedly wishful thinking. We poured our blood, sweat, and tears into establishing nigh-perfect countermeasures this time. If this doesn't work, then all our efforts and casualties will have been a total waste.
相当の激戦だったと先ほどのお言葉にもありましたが。
Earlier, you mentioned something about considerably fierce battles.
ああ、転戦の連続に加えて規模も広範囲にわたってどこもかしこも文字通りの死闘だった。
Yeah, not only was it one battle after the next, but the scope was so big that every one of them was a little battle to the death.
とりあえず元凶となっていたグリフィスたちは大量に処分したが。
For now, the majority of the responsible Griffiths have been eliminated.
私が無事に帰還できたのはおそらく運が良かっただけだろう。
But it was probably sheer dumb luck I got out alive.
あなたほどの手だれがですか？
In spite of your consummate skills?
群れの動きが異常に素早くてな。
The herd was abnormally fast.
分散して行動されていれば少々厄介だった。
It would have been kind of troublesome if they'd split up.
特定地域に密集していたので、確固に撃破してなんとか片付いたが。
Although, they were clustered in specific areas, so we crushed them individually and managed to win the day, but still. The ones who'd been in charge for those specific areas at the start were almost all wiped out. Couldn't help but shudder at the thought of being in their shoes.
それにしても処分。
Still though, you eliminated them.
今回はグリフィスの鬼化があったのですか？
Were there any demonified Griffiths this time around?
全員な。
Yeah, all of them.
末期症状で救いようがなかった。
Their symptoms were terminal. There was no saving them.
周辺の町村へも襲撃して深刻な被害をもたらしていた。
They attacked nearby towns and villages and caused serious damage. The demonification Ryunuk spoke of just now is a phenomenon where the body structure of a berserk Griffiths develops abnormally, turning them into monstrous beasts. Griffiths with this condition lose all sense of reason and are driven only by destructive and murderous impulses to destroy, ravage, and kill anything in their path. Since they are impervious to most physical attacks and can quickly regenerate most wounds, no being from this planet can oppose such threat. Oh, I thought that was going to be a typo. I was looking at it weird. No being. No being. The settlements they visit right before the decisive battle on the mainland in particular were gruesome. Every man, woman, and child was found with their limbs torn, heads crushed, and guts devoured as though mauled by beasts. It was so cruel that there was no way to bury them or hold a memorial. We burned the whole settlement down as a cremation. Every last piece of that horror is conveyed to Ryunuk as images via her synchronization with my memories. One screen after another opens up in this void, replaying the spectacles I witnessed.
ひどいですね。
How horrible. Even though she should only be giving a pre-programmed response, there's a hint of gloom in her voice. No, maybe that's my sentimentality talking. After all, Ryunoke isn't equipped with these circuits to possess emotions beyond my input.
大陸の連中に加え、各地から集められた他のピトゥスたちとも連携して討伐に当たったのだが、
I worked together with Putus assembled from various other places, in addition to the ones from the mainland.
それでも半数近くがやられた。
Yet, nearly half of us were wiped out.
油断して不意をつかれたとはいえ、遅れを取るとは情けない話だがな。
I know they caught us off guard in an ambush, but it's pathetic we fell behind them.
いえ、それだけではないかと。
No, that isn't all.
確かに過去の事例と比較しても、今回のグリフィスたちは全て凶暴性の度合いが段違いです。
The Griffiths this time were all on a whole different level of brutality, even compared to previous cases. Ryunoke quietly stated that as she analyzed the battle footage, watching the Jida face off against giant Griffiths dominating and rampaging with their claws and fangs.
しかも、ただ力任せに暴れ回っていた以前とは違って、動きと攻撃内容に一定の規則性が見られます。
Furthermore, unlike the past where they relied on raw power alone, these Griffiths express uniform regularities in their actions and attacks.
故に、推測で申し上げると、知性を失っていない可能性が高いかと思われます。
Therefore, in conclusion, it would seem highly likely these ones had not lost their intelligence.
長年の異種交配の影響かな。
The result of many years of crossbreeding, I guess.
もはや我らピトゥスとの差異がなくなりつつあるようだ。
It seems the gap between them and us Putus is fading away.
元を正せば、奴らも我らが同胞、なるべく助けたいと考えていたが、
As they were originally our brethren as well, I'd like to help them.
今後は難しくなるだろうな。
But that'll probably get harder from now on. I gave a dreary sigh after saying that. The original duty of us observers was, as the name indicated, to observe the actions of our brethren and investigate whether they were coexisting peacefully with the natives of the land. Since Griffiths had a high probability of acting abnormally due to their composition, we were given the authority to give them appropriate treatment and take proper measures based on our own judgment. Therefore, executing Griffiths was allowed as nothing less than an emergency measure to prevent disaster from spreading or for self-defense. But, for the past 2 decades, instead of helping my brethren, I've been sent on nothing but missions to hunt down Griffiths who've gone berserk and turned into monsters. Perhaps Executioner was a more fitting title than Observer. Also, while damages from Griffiths' rampages and demonifications at sea decreased, their scale and threat were only growing. As a result, us Putus, who originally boasted overwhelming superiority to Griffiths, now found ourselves suffering many injuries, even casualties, in our skirmishes with them.
この調子では、この世界の人間たちはグリフィスによって食い尽くされてしまうかもしれない。
All the humans in the world may end up Griffiths' fodder at this rate.
だが、各地のジェダをはじめ、この世界におけるピトゥスは数が減る一方だ。
But the number of Putus in the world, starting with us Jida stationed all over, is only shrinking.
我々だけでそれをどこまで食い止められるか。
I don't know how far we'll be able to hold them off on our own.
ジェダ、
Jida!
新天地を求めた末、第二の故郷を滅ぼすか。
Destroying our second home after searching for a new world, huh?
移民者ではなく、これでは侵略者だな。
At this rate, us Ryun
我々竜は。
are gonna be nothing more than invaders, not immigrants. The world my parents, the world the Ryun clan lived in, was wiped out long ago. Was it due to war, natural disasters, or disease? I was born and raised on this world, so I've got no clue. Anyway, the Ryun abandoned their home to escape disaster, and chose to cross dimensions and evacuate to this world to survive. They accomplished this via phase transition. The bodies and minds of all creatures are comprised of a collection of electronic signals and subatomic particles that possess a fixed mass. In other words, information. So theoretically, it's possible to move objects by converting them to fixed charged particles, transferring them to a different world, then reconstructing the information at the destination. Based on this theory, my ancestors, the Ryun clan, developed phase transition technology, which is classified as parascience in this world. This sounds great. Researchers invented devices that use said phase transition to mediate interdimensional travel to save the Ryun clan. Once they were completed, the Rune clan implemented a large-scale immigration plan, and the refugees were sent to a world in another dimension, one after another. However, according to Rune's records, the destruction of the Rune homeland progressed faster than expected, sending the urgency of the immigration plan through the roof. It is said that the refugees, in their desperation to escape the crisis, fell into mass hysteria and lost their cool, rushing to the Linuses at once and gradually escalating the situation beyond control. And thus, in order to deal with the enormous number of people, the formerly orderly and regulated immigration plan grew sloppier and pushier. Perhaps that chaos was only inevitable in the face of a literal life and death emergency like that. However, that caused a major problem. The phase transition process actually had a defect. When transferring something to another dimension, it resists objects that exceed a fixed mass. Therefore, mass transfer of mental information pertaining to one's individuality, such as memories and personality, is possible. But physical objects such as bodies are unable to pass through the Linos, creating a deviation between the information signals and the object. Hope this is all making sense to you. This will be on the final exam. all this science. In short, the mind gets separated from the body. However, this risk only came to light after the majority of the Rune clan had transferred, leaving them with no way to deal with it. As a result, most people lost their bodies in the process of passing through the Linos.
通常の生物であれば、そのまま消滅していたと思います。
For most creatures, that would result in annihilation.
でも、リューンの民はその点で、位相転移に適性があったのかもしれません。
But perhaps the Rune clan had aptitude for phase transition when it came to that.
適性か。
Aptitude, huh?
それはいいことよりも悪いことの方が多かったようにも思えるのだがな。
Turned out to be more of a curse than a blessing, if you ask me. Right. Fortunately, the Rune clan were by nature creatures whose physical and mental makeup was bonded together by high-order molecules, possessed powerful charge and high information storage ability. So, they can maintain their life source solely from mental information such as their personality for a fixed time after losing their bodies. Because of that, they lost their bodies and immigrated here as what this world calls ghosts. In other words, as astral bodies.
とはいえ、いつまでも肉体を持たないままではいかなかった。
That said, they couldn't last forever without bodies. Those astral bodies, with their intermittent molecular coupling and detachment, have a powerful ability to interfere with nearby organic matter due to their strong electrical charge. As such, if they continue to act in that state for a long period of time, they run the risk of altering their sense of self via unintentional accretion of the various information that comprises this world. What the hell is going on? I don't mean to sound like a hater. And at the same time, there's no denying the possibility that this could have negative effects on other creatures, like interfering with their genetic information and rewriting it. Thus, they decide to seek a creature of this world as a medium to possess in order to stabilize their mental information. Those creatures were humans, those who had the greatest capacity to accumulate knowledge. First, the Rune clan would possess the bodies of human larvae who hadn't developed personalities yet, fetuses. Next, they synchronized their consciousness with the fetuses as their brain and nervous system developed, fusing with the original personality over a long period of time before eventually maturing into a single personality. In other words, assimilation. The downside was that the Rune would lose the majority of their memories prior to the possession. Still, it allowed them to survive and retain their original personalities, so many of them went with that option. Furthermore, the assimilated humans would inherit fragments of the Rune's information construction ability, memory ability, and creativity from before the possession. For example, how to handle fire after erasing their fear of it, and the invention of writing as a means to store and pass down information, and other developments, such as mathematics, to rationally improve social activities. Therefore, those abilities would blossom as they grow, and they would contribute to all sorts of fields in this world, exhibiting all kinds of knowledge and skills ahead of their time. As a result, humans came to possess a much higher cultural standard compared to other creatures, and their civilizations grew by leaps and bounds.
初期の頃はこの規範が守られて同化も順調に進んでいたと聞く。
I've heard that at first they kept to the standard and assimilation was going smoothly.
だが、問題はその後だった。
But the problems came after that. It happened one year when assimilation activities reached their peak. A serious epidemic spread through this world. It is speculated that the pathogen was a mutational outbreak and may have been brought by the Rune clan as the after effects of phase transitioning to this world. Whatever the case, human birth rates and infant survival rates dramatically decreased as a result. And so the astral bodies who'd chosen to possess them died one after another without fully assimilating with them. This situation caused a commotion amongst our brethren who were searching for hosts while still in their astral form after arriving late to this world. After all, their power to maintain their individuality while in their astral bodies could only be used up, not accumulated, and if that situation continued for long, their personalities would decay and vanish. Still, it was too risky to possess fetuses and infants, who were extremely weak to the pathogen. And so with that thought, some of our brethren who wanted to increase their chances of survival as much as possible began possessing not infants, but rather children, even those on the cusp of adolescence. But this turned out to be the worst possible choice, with negative effects on the rune, as well as the humans they possessed. In the first place, rune astral bodies were able to assimilate by possessing humans over a period of time as infants, when their personalities were barely formed. So if they instead ended up possessing those whose personalities had already partially formed, it would lead to conflict and rejection with the original personality. In other words, the two personalities would fight over a single body. So naturally, they would engage in a fierce mental struggle to drive the other one out, and the winner would be left with serious injuries. As a result, the competing personalities and individualities fell apart, their thoughts decayed, and more people appeared displaying abnormal behavior. Us Jita call these of our brethren who possess these problematic factors Griffiths, half-bloods. Furthermore, amongst Griffiths with serious symptoms are those whose accelerated physical growth process goes out of control due to the effects of their genetic makeup getting mixed up during the assimilation process. The resulting brutality, strength, and overly aggressive impulses manifest as causing harm to nearby natives and brethren alike. Also, there were some of us who had been living peacefully, but turned into Griffiths via the mental interference ability emanated from other Griffiths. On the mainland, they likened to monsters such as vampires and ghouls that can infect others. In other words, those who seem to turn abnormal after coming into contact with them are in fact our brethren who possess the rune factor within them. Furthermore, when Griffiths reach terminal symptoms, they physically mutate in menacing appearance and abilities, the so-called demonification. As a result, Griffiths who had gone berserk change into beasts, lose their sense of reason, and literally become demons who attack humans. The Griffiths have rampaged, raged, and dominated many different places, leading to the rise of all sorts of urban legends. Man-eating demons, soul-sealing devils, gargoyles, ghosts who wield mysterious strength. The birth of religious and magic at this same time period is likely related to these influences. With no physical way for the native humans to resist those berserk Griffiths, all they could do was flee their onslaught. After all, while their civilization has progressed by leaps and bounds thanks to our assimilated brethren, they still couldn't make up for their brittle bodies. Apparently, there were some brave souls who formed factions dedicated to using all available arms to repel the Griffiths, but those almost always ended in tragedy. However, saviors appeared before them. Those who possessed the power to oppose the tyranny of the Griffiths and strove to stabilize the world while maintaining reason. The ones who advocated that and took up arms against them were from the Rune clan, much like the monsters. Early immigrants who had luckily managed to arrive in this world with their original bodies intact.
あのような怪物をこの世界に生み出し、無用の悲劇を持ち込んでしまったのは、我らが竜の民すべての罪業であり、責任である。
It is we of the Rune clan who bear the sin and responsibility of creating those monsters and bringing about these meaningless tragedies.
故に我らは、我ら自身の手で最悪の目を摘み取り、これを滅ぼす義務を果たさなければならない。
Therefore, we have an obligation to pluck out the seeds of this disaster and destroy them ourselves. Since they hadn't lost their original bodies, they still possessed their high physical and mental capabilities even after transferring here. And so, as the enemies of the monsterfied Griffiths, they dubbed themselves Putis, purebloods. The Putis decided that stopping the rampage of the Griffiths was their race's duty and responsibility, and thus set out to deal with the incidents caused by Griffiths all across the land. Okay, so just terms given for full-blood, half-blooded, I got pureblood, I guess. Pureblood, half-bloods, great. And then the 16 Putis families who played a central part in these duties were eventually called the High amongst their brethren. Furthermore, the Jita, a family who possessed powerful combat abilities even amongst the other 15 families, took on the role of observers to keep an eye on berserk Griffiths and their descendants. Thanks to the Putis' efforts, Griffiths who had been causing mayhem in various areas were gradually hunted down, and the natives of this world who'd been on the verge of destruction regained their original peace. In that sense, the work of us Putis may have contributed to the preservation of this world, even if only a little. But even those of us with such outstanding abilities had a tragic fate.
そういえばジェダ、
Come to think of it, Jita,
今回大陸には他のジェダと一緒に赴かれたと聞いておりましたが、それは以前お会いしたシーチェンジェダですか？
I heard you worked with other Jita on the mainland this time. Was it Shizan Jita, who we met previously?
ジェダ？
Jita?
そのシーツェンがこたびの戦でやられた。
Shizan fell in battle.
彼女だけではない。
Not just her.
今回のグリフィスとの戦闘では4名が命を落とした。
We lost 4 in this battle with the Griffiths.
これでジェダの名を継ぐ者はとうとう私を含めても数名になってしまった。
Meaning there's only a handful of Jita left now, including me.
大陸でもジェダの子がいたと聞きましたが、
I heard there were Jita even on the mainland who had children, though.
皆流行り病で溶接したそうだ。
They all died young of disease.
ただでさえ肺は子を宿しにくいというのに。
The High already have enough trouble conceiving as it is, so I let out a dreary sigh. I didn't want to lie. The tragic fate imposed on us Putis was our extremely low birth rate. While the Ryun did indeed live rather long, they were by no means immortal. Thus, the Putis focused their efforts on the birthing and rearing of children at the same time as the execution of their mission, but successes were few and far between. I was one of those very rare exceptions, and with this previous mission, I'd finally become the last exception.
シーツェンはグリフィスの奴らに不意を打たれて駆けつけた時には一足遅かった。
Shizhen was ambushed by Griffiths. By the time I got there, it was too late.
20年前の借りを返すつもりであったのに。
If only I could have repaid her for what happened 20 years ago.
そうですか。
I see. Now that I was saying it out loud, I felt the regret I'd nearly forgotten welling right back up. Shizhen Jita was one of my fellow observers who'd been assigned to this region south of the island nation's capital. Like me, she was one of the select few Ryun born in this world, so her death hit the elders just as hard. With her death, I was now the only young Putis left. In other words, the only Putis with no memories of Mother Ryun.
お察しします。
You have my sympathies.
シーツェンは私にとっても頼れるジェダの一人でした。
I considered Shizhen a reliable Jita.
私以上に無口であまり親しい付き合いではなかったが、
She was even quieter than me, and we were never really close.
大陸から戻った後は奴の国を訪れる約束をしていた。
But I'd promised to visit her country after returning from the mainland.
だがまさか弔いに足を運ぶことになるとはな。
Still, to think I'd be going there for her funeral.
ジェダ、
Jita,
すまない。少々感傷的になってしまった。
sorry, got a bit emotional there.
疲れているだけだ。聞き流してくれ。
I'm just tired. Ignore me.
はい。
Very well. But though she said that, Ryunuk's linked to my consciousness, so she could tell exactly what I'm thinking, and so she must know that this sorrow isn't based in loneliness, but a stronger sense of emptiness, as well as a sense of isolation, bordering on despair.
生ある限り必ず死ぬ
Where there's life, there's inevitably death.
とはどこかの宗教家のセリフだったか。
I think it was some religious figure who said that. So sometimes, I would ponder what my death would be like, as the youngest and probably final Ryun. Would I pass away sadly while reflecting on being the last one? Would I fall into a lonely eternal sleep, with no one to care for me? Either way, I couldn't see any sort of light at the end of this tunnel. That's why it hurt. I wasn't scared of death, but the thought of it was so lonesome.
ジェダ？
Jita?
リューンオーク、
Ryunuk.
私が臨終を迎えるのは一体いつのことなのだろうな。
When do you think I'll die?
それは
Well,
お前には見えるか？
can you see it?
私が最後どんな死を迎えることになるか。
What sort of death do I have in store?
せめて見届ける者がいる臨終ではありたいとは思うがな。
I hope there's at least someone to see me off. I don't like the silence there. A supercomputer? Ryunuk doesn't answer. Is it because it's not in her pre-programmed responses, or... Either way, I don't know.
ところでリュウンオーク、
By the way, Ryunuk,
話は変わるが、20年前にこの村に出没した例のピトゥス。
on another note, about the Putus who frequented this village 20 years ago.
その出自は判明したか？
Have you discovered his origins?
実は私もあなたにお伺いしたいと考えておりました。
I was hoping to ask that of you, actually.
どうですか、ジェダ？
What do you think, Jira?
私が突き止めていたのならば、お前に尋ねるはずがなかろう。
Wouldn't be asking if I already knew, right?
ということは、お前も結局わからなかったのか。
Guess that means you came up empty-handed too.
申し訳ありません。
My apologies.
各方面のライノスとも情報共有を行ったのですが、
I shared information with all Linoses,
残念ながら現時点でも有力な手がかりをつかんでおりません。
but unfortunately, we failed to find any strong clues at this point in time.
そうか。
That's so. It was about 20 years ago by this world's time denominations. A demon with vast power arrived in Onigafuchi village out of nowhere. And thanks to his influence, local Griffiths who all possessed the factor simultaneously demonified and started attacking the villagers they coexisted with. Fortunately, my combat abilities exceeded all theirs, so I managed to suppress them. But that didn't mean the story immediately ended happily ever after. Because the demon who caused the Griffiths to demonify, it's a funny way of saying that, and led them was in fact a berserk Putus.
今までの鬼化による同胞たちの暴走は、すべてグリフィスの仕業だった。
All rampages caused by demonifications up until now have been the work of Griffiths.
大陸の一件でもそれと同様だ。
Even the case on the mainland was the same.
しかし、あの事件で先導していたのは、私たちと同じピトゥス。
But the one who instigated that incident was a Putus, just like me.
一体どうしたことなのか。
How the hell did that happen?
わかりません。
I do not know.
ピトスが現地の人間を襲うことなど、
At the very least, up until now.
少なくとも今までには決してなかったことです。
There had been no cases of Putus attacking local humans. Putus rampages were a rare phenomenon to begin with, to say nothing of Putus demonification. Because the fact that they transferred to this world with their bodies intact was proof of their mental stability. And I checked with the elders, but it was very likely that they were a high. Meaning someone who'd opposed Griffiths just like us suddenly went berserk and started attacking the local natives, as well as fellow Putus.
グリフィスたちが一斉に鬼化したのは、おそらくピュトスの持つ強い精神干渉が影響を及ぼしたものと思われます。
I believe the simultaneous demonification of the Griffiths was likely due to the effects of the strong mental interference possessed by Putus.
そのため通常の場合では、体内の因子を暴走させないはずの抵抗力を持った人々も精神状態が不安定になり、
Perhaps that's why those who could normally keep the factor within them from going berserk ended up becoming mentally unstable.
適性の高いものが同調して鬼化してしまったものかと。
And those with high aptitude conformed and demonified.
厄介だな。
What a pain.
もしもそのような周囲への干渉能力を持つピトゥスが他にも存在しているのだとすれば、今までの安全神話など簡単に瓦解する。
If there are other Putus out there with the ability to interfere with their surroundings like that, then the myth of safety we've been living under will go straight to hell.
苦心して築き上げた暴発への対策がその襲来で全て打ち砕かれるということだからな。
After all, it'll mean all the anti-outbreak measures we worked so hard to establish will be smashed to pieces by that attack. And what's more, a Putus' strength is an entirely different language than, or is in an entirely different league than a Griffiths. So when used in full force, it's easily capable of bearing a settlement or two, or even an entire country. In fact, though my life wasn't in danger, if I'd arrived at this village even only a little later, my brethren and the native humans could have all been wiped out.
ピトゥスの鬼化が途上であったことも幸運だった。
Luckily, Pierce's demonification wasn't complete. If by chance he'd been fully demonified, then as a woman, even I, currently praised as the strongest rune, would have stood no chance of victory. As a woman. But furthermore, I had the advantage of the whole time thanks to this. I had the advantage of the whole time thanks to the surprise attack and Shizen's support, but I can't help but shudder at the thought of what could have been had things been different.
現在も 出元については探索中です。
I'm currently searching for his origins at this time.
騒動のルフド愛から推察すれば、いずれか近隣のライノスの管轄にあったピュトスかと。
Based on the extent the turmoil flourished, I believe he was a Putus under the jurisdiction of a nearby Linos.
ただ、ライノスも今や半数以上が老朽化して機能を停止しているため、情報の完全把握は難しい状況です。
However, as over half the Linoses have deteriorated and ceased functioning, it is difficult to grasp the full picture.
構わぬ。
No problem.
とりあえず何か判明したら逐一欠かさずに教えてくれ。
Just tell me if you learned something, and spare no details.
それから機能している周辺のライノスには注意を促しておくことを忘れずにな。
Also, don't forget to bring this to the attention of the functioning Linus nearby.
はい。
Understood.
ところで、ジェダの今後の予定は？
Incidentally, what are your plans from here on out?
そうだな。
Good question.
私はしばらくこの村に滞在して動向を見守ることにしよ
I'll stay in this village for a while and keep an eye on things.
う。例のピュテスを打ち果たしたとはいえ、その影響と余波が完全に消えてなくなったとは思えない。
That Putus may be dead, but I doubt the after effects have completely faded.
念のため指揮標となる金閣を水源地に散布してその反応を見ておこうと思う。
Just to be safe, I think I'll scatter a scleratium marker. I don't know, in the water source and watch for reactions. What the fuck is that? 1 second. We're going to Google real quick. SCLEROTIUM.
Sclerotium.
Sclerotium. My bad. The hard, dark, resting body of a certain fungi, consisting of a mass of hyphal threads capable of remaining dormant for long periods.
Sclerotium.
Sclerotium. Of course. A sclerotium marker.
そうですね。
Don't say you never learn anything on these streams. I see. Question mark? Rinook's evasive answer puzzled me. After all, normally she'd never give an ambiguous response like that.
なんだ、何か問題があるのか？
There a problem or something?
いえ、有利体への対応としては問題がありません。
No, there are no problems with regards to your astral body.
ただ、せっかくこの地に帰ってきたのですから、少々休息をされてはいかがかと思いましたので。
However, now that you are back in this land, I was thinking you should take a little break.
休息だと？
A break? I instinctively snickered at that unexpected suggestion.
いいなことを言う。
What an idea.
グリフィスを打ち果たすがために生きる我らジェダを支援する役目のお前が私に使命を忘れて休めとはな。
You, who exist to support Ashida who lived to exterminate the Griffiths, suggesting I forget my mission and get some rest?
どういう風の吹き回しだ？
What brought this on?
無礼を承知で申し上げます。
With all due respect,
ジェダ、あなたは疲れています。
you are tired, Cheetah.
それも心身ともに深刻なほど。
To the point where it's having a serious effect on your mind and body.
故に、しばらく職務を離れることを強く推奨させていただきます。
Therefore, I highly recommend stepping away from your duties for a while.
疲れなど私は。
Tired? I'm not.
その証拠がこれです。
This is proof of that. Rinook displayed various numerical diagrams and illustrations in front of me after saying that. They indicated my physical state. Oh, she's pulling out the charts and the graphs and the numbers to prove that she's tired. In particular, there were indeed an irregular disorder in my movements and delay in judgment in the battle footage viewed earlier. Even I couldn't help but click my tongue with when each and every error was pointed out to me.
最近のあなたは無理をしすぎです。
You have been pushing yourself too hard lately.
ある意味では意固地になっているとも言えます。
In a sense, one could say you've gotten stubborn.
自らを守るだけならいざ知らず、共に戦う同胞を支え、襲撃を受けた人間たちをもかばおうとしています。
I do not know when it comes to protecting yourself, but you have been attempting to protect your brethren humans under attack during battle.
能力の限界を超えて。
All while pushing the limits of your abilities.
私はリューンの技術によって作られ、 竜運の理念によって構築されました。
I was created by rune technology and constructed in accordance with rune ideas.
故にジェダ、あなたの任務に対する真摯な意識は模範的であり、あなたの行為も全く正しいものであると理解し、評価もしております。
Therefore, I understand your earnest attitude towards your mission is exemplary and your actions are completely in the right, and for that, I commend you.
ただ、竜運の過ちではなく、この世界の先住民、人間自身の運命にまで干渉することは、責任を持つべき範囲を凌駕しているとも思われるのです。
However, I believe that intervening in the fate of the natives of this world, the humans, and not just the mistakes of the rune is exceeding your responsibilities.
それは、
That's...
竜運の故郷にも、この世界で神と呼ばれる存在がありました。
Even the rune homeworld had a being called God, much like this world.
すべての運命を作り出し、世にあまねく万物の命を左右することができる権威と力を持ったものとされる象徴です。
It was a symbol of authority and power that could create all fate and influence the lives of all things in the world.
実際、私の記録媒体によると、かつての故郷の崩壊末期には、来たる終末の日は神の怒りによるものだと、定冠の果てに運命を受け入れた者も多数いたとあります。
In fact, according to my records, when the end of the former rune homeworld was nigh, there were many who gave up and accepted their fate, claiming that the coming doomsday was caused by God's wrath.
自殺願望者だ、それは。
Sounds like they wanted to die.
しかし、そこでも神は絶対のものであり、それがもたらした運命は誰にも揺るがし得ないものでした。
But even there, God was absolute, and no one could change a fate brought upon by it.
なのに、あなたはその神に挑もうとしている。
Yet, you are trying to challenge that God?
そして、それが不可能であることにも、あなたは気づいている。
And you have realized that is impossible.
違いますか？
Am I incorrect?
ジェダ、
Jira,
あなたの真摯さは素晴らしいと思います。
I think your sincerity is wonderful.
ですが、もうそこまで自分を追い込む必要はないのではありませんか？
But you don't need to drive yourself so deep into a corner, do you?
あなたはジェダである前に、竜の民、
You are a Ryun before you are a Jita.
この世界に新たな故郷を見出した移民の子なのです。
A child of immigrants who discovered their new home in this world.
だから、
So,
よくもまあ、ずけずけと言ってくるものだ。
you sure don't mince words, huh?
随分と我らに近い存在に成長したものだな、リューンウォーク。
You've really grown into something quite like us, haven't you, Ryunuk?
ジェダ、
Jita. Stop saying my name.
すまない、言い過ぎた。
Sorry, I went too far. Even I noticed that my tone's grown pretty harsh, so I sincerely apologized. I'm not sure if Ryunuk understands my apology, but even so, in all my years of knowing her, she's been a valuable conversation partner. I never wanted to treat her like an object.
お前にまで同じことを言われるとはな。
To think you'd tell me the same thing. Huh?
なんでもない。
Nothing. I shrugged instead of answering, then looked up and replied with slight jest.
休み云々はまたの機会の戦技として。疲れているのはお前の見立て通りかもしれない。
We'll talk about a break another time, but maybe you're right about me being tired.
今日は水浴びでもして出直すとしよう。
I'll go out and take a bath today.
それでいいか？
That okay?
わかりました。
Understood.
場所はいつものところですか？
The usual place, I assume?
ああ、あそこなら人目にもつきにくいしな。
Yeah. Shouldn't be any prying eyes around there.
念のためにですが、ジェダ。
But just to be safe.
あの辺りは最近、隣の山から獣がいくつか移り住んできています。
Several animals have recently moved over there from the neighboring mountain.
猛獣の類もいるそうなので、気をつけてください。
There are several types of carnivorous beasts among them, so please be cautious.
私が獣ごときに遅れを取ると？
Really think a mere beast will get the better of me?
ですね。
I see your point.
無用の注意、失礼しました。
I apologize for the meaningless warning.
それではまたな。
Okay, see you later. I turned around after that answer. Light covered my vision again, and at the same time a floaty sensation raced through me.
ジェダ、違うのでしょ？
You're wrong, Jita.
あなたがジェダを続ける理由はむしろ
If anything, the reason you can keep being a Jita is because... why? Renuk? I walked from Onigafuchi deeper into the forest on the mountainside and ended up at a slope with bare rocks. It was there that a spring turned into a mountain stream that fed the swamp, and even further in was a waterfall and a small watering hole.
ここも前のままだな。
This place sure hasn't changed. Countless trees stood tall on the slope a little bit above, and I could see what appeared to be several beast trails. However, the depths of the watering hole were in the shadows of the rocks, so with that and the roar of the waterfall, it's likely no one would notice me even if they came by. So I could kick back and relax here without having to worry about prying eyes. There we go. Took off the cloak I was wearing and casually hung it on a nearby tree, then returned from my astral body to my solid body. Normally, we Putis turn into our astral forms whenever we're not fighting, allowing us to evade human eyes. Okay. The ability to convert from a visible solid body into an invisible astral body is one of the special abilities the Putis obtained during the phase transition. But it doesn't just affect your visibility. In an astral form, you're freed from the limitations of this world's laws of physics, such as contact with objects and air resistance. It wasn't an ability I used frequently in times of peace, but I deliberately used it to avoid frightening the villagers with my appearance.
ただ実体でなければ水や風の感覚を楽しめないというのは不便なものだ。
Though it's a pain that you can't enjoy the feel of water and wind unless you're in solid form. I muttered that in my head as I stepped into the watering hole completely naked and sunk myself in. Couldn't help but smile at the comforting coolness of it. Oh, no, with that.
やっぱりここが一番だな。
What am I looking at? Oh. Okay, I had to make sure. Oh, man. Why? Why did he need... in the conveniently placed tree branch or bush branch. Phew, this really is the best. I've bathed in many rivers, ponds, and lakes, but I like this one the best. Sunlight filtering through the trees sparkled gently off the water, creating a cozy atmosphere. The air was a bit lively with the sounds of birds chirping off in the distance. Occasionally, I noticed freshwater fish moving in the shadows of the rocks, and the comfort of directly bathing in the modest waterfall spread through my whole body. The amount of water was just perfect for combing and washing my long hair. Get that off my screen. I leaned again. This is a G-rated stream, always, constantly. Family-friendly stream channel, this is. Please, Higurashi. Respect my channel. I leaned against the rocks and parted my wet bangs, while thinking back on what Renuk had said.
あなたはその神に挑もうとしている。
Yet you are trying to challenge that god.
そしてそれが不可能であることにもあなたは気づいている。
And you have realized that it is impossible.
違いますか？
Am I incorrect?
違わないさ。
No, you're not.
分かっているんだ。それくらいは。
I understand that much. I said that to myself, and sighed. The elder said the same thing when I went to say goodbye after completing my mission.
グリフィスの調査を打ち切る？
You're calling off the search for Griffiths?
正気か、長老。
Have you lost your mind?
その通りだ。今後我々は特定地域を除きグリフィスたちの動向について干渉せず、彼らの問題は彼らに任せようと思う。
You heard right. Except for certain designated areas, from now on we will avoid interfering with Griffith's activities and let them deal with their own problems.
そんな無責任であろう。
No way. Don't you think that's irresponsible?
現状の先住民たち、人間の力では鬼化したグリフィスに立ち向かうのは不可能だ。
At present, the humans don't have the means to oppose demonified Griffiths.
再びこの世界を滅亡の危機に陥れるというのか？
Are you saying you'll let the world fall to ruin again?
それを我らのみで食い止めることにもはや限界が来ているのだ。そなたも気づいているのだろう。
We're already reaching our limit of what we can do to stop them on our own. You've realized that too, haven't you? I looked over at the row of other pewters standing there, and instinctively shut my mouth. Nearly all of them had suffered injuries, be they light or severe. I myself got wounded in the right arm, and my shoulder hadn't fully regained sensation yet.
生まれながらにジェダの両親の血を引き、類いまれなる格闘戦能力を持つそなたは、まさに最強の竜ンと言っても過言ではないだろう。
Yosmo, it'd be no exaggeration to say that you, who inherited the blood of your Jedi parents and possess unparalleled combat abilities, are the strongest of our race.
だが、そなたと違って、我らは皆老いて衰えた。力を誇った18杯も数が減り、かつての力を失いつつある。
But unlike you, the rest of us have grown old and weak, and the 18 highs are now few in number and losing their former strength.
それはしかし
But even so,
それに我らはもう疲れたのだ。我が娘は千年病にかかって命を落とし、そなたと同じジェダの娘シーツェン・ジェダもこの旅の戦で死んだ。
besides, we're tired now. My daughter lost her life to illness last year, and Shisen Jita, another daughter of Jita much like you, died in battle this time around.
そんな今となっては、そなた以外に役目を継いで果たす者は他におらん。
And so at present, there's no one but you who we can entrust our duty to.
それを思うと、ピュトゥスはもうここで滅ぶのが運命なのかもしれぬ。
When you think about that, perhaps the Putus are fated to go extinct right here and now.
当初は先住民たちを救う神としてその使命を自らに課してきた我らだが、その考え方自身傲慢で僭越なものであったのであろう。
Back then, we took it upon ourselves to be gods who saved the natives, but that way of thinking itself is arrogant and insolent. Ridiculous! Enraged, I pressed the elders. There was no way in hell I could accept that mindset that went beyond passive into pessimism, or rather downright resignation.
グリフィスがもたらした最悪は元を正せば我らがこの地に持ち込んだ害毒であろう。
The disasters caused by Griffiths are a poison we brought to this land.
そして我らハイリューンを名乗る者はリューンの民とこの世界の人間たちの融和と安寧を図るのがその役目と義務であったはず。
And us High, the self-proclaimed High Ryuans, are supposed to have the role and obligation to strive to bring peace and harmony between the Ryuan clan and the humans.
その教えを保護にするなど私にはできない。
I can't abandon those teachings.
やっていいはずがない。
There's no way this is acceptable.
いやソムールよ、それは我らの無知と無力がもたらした罪だ。たとえ蔑まれようとも我らが生涯背負い、そしてその罰として惨めに滅びてゆこう。
Yosmur, that sin was brought about by our ignorance and powerlessness. We'll bear it for the rest of our lives, even if we're despised, and we'll perish miserably as our punishment.
だがそなたは違う。そなたはこの世界にて生まれた竜。いわばこの世界のもの。そなたまでが我ら滅びゆく者と運命を共にする義務はどこにもない。
But you're not like us. You're ruin born in this world. In other words, you're a resident of this world and thus bear no obligation to share our fate.
今後どれだけ力を尽くしてもグリフィスの完全排除は難しい。いや不可能だろう。
No matter how much you struggle, exterminating all the Griffiths will be difficult. No, in all likelihood impossible.
なぜなら 今までの事例では同化の際に生じた拒絶反応と混乱が原因だった。
As for why, all the cases up until now were caused by rejection and disorder during the assimilation process.
しかし今回の一件はよりしろの人格自身がそれを望んでその衝動に従っている傾向がうかがえる。
However, in this case, there was a tendency for the vessel's personalities themselves to choose this and follow those impulses.
よりしろ、つまり元々の人間たちに備わっていた人格の意志がそうさせていると。
Vessels? You mean the human's original personalities willingly caused this?
言うなれば破壊願望、よりしろ自身が持つ劣等感が生み出した排他意識と申し上げてもいいかもしれん。
A desire to destroy, if you will. Maybe you could call it a sense of exclusivity born of the vessel's own inferiority complex.
つまりデューンの存在の有無にかかわらず彼らは強行を企み引き起こす要素を持っていた。
In other words,
デューンの責任ではないということではないか。
they possess the factor to plan and cause violence with or without the rune. So doesn't that mean it's not the rune's responsibility?
違う。
You're wrong! Their wish was not for power. It was power that brought upon these wishes and turned into violence. Then as immigrants to this world, isn't our minimum obligation to take up the role of sealing that power?
エアソムール、そなたもいつか気づくはず。いや、ひょっとしたら気づいているのかもしれんな。
You, Samul, should understand someday. No, perhaps you already do.
我らはこの世界においては神に最も近しき存在だが神にはなれぬのだ。故に彼ら人間と同じく運命に従うのみで運命を作り出すことなど決してできない。
Oh, this rune elder speaks so slowly. We are the closest beings to gods in this world, but we cannot become gods. So like the humans, we can only obey fate, never create it.
そんなことはない。
That's not true.
イヤソム、どこへ行く？まだ話は。
Yo, Samul, where are you going? I'm not done. Sorry, Elder, you're taking too long to talk. We gotta go. We gotta pick up the pace here. I ignored the elders and ran out of the settlement. I felt like I'd go crazy if I heard another word. Just what am I? I'm not acknowledged as one who fulfills the rune's obligations, nor am I allowed to bear the rune's sins. On the other hand, I'm by no means a god or a human of this world, and no matter how many people I try to be, I can never be them. So what in the world am I? I stood alone in a vast patch of land and looked up at the twinkling stars. Even the countless stars floating in that pitch-black void were asserting their existence through those faint glitters. And yet, I just had what I believed to be my reason for existence, taken from me by my very own ruined comrades. What do? Continue being Jita, even if it means ending up alone? Or will I... No. I scooped up water over and over and cooled the heat building in my eyes. Then I suddenly looked at the water's surface and grimaced when I saw my face there.
この綱がなかったなら。
If it weren't for these horns... I knew complaining wouldn't change a thing, but I said it anyway. If only I didn't have these horns, then I would likely look just the same as the humans of this world, could probably live a normal life just as the elder suggested. My power was easy enough to hide, and with Ryunuk's help I could probably become fluent in the human's tongue. But these horns? There would be no excusing these horns on my head, seen all over the world as symbolic of the demons and devils they fear so much. To Ryun, it's just an ordinary part of our body, but in this world, it's a huge chasm that stood in the way.
お
Right then, I heard a rustling of leaves, clearly not caused by wind, from the mountain slope above me. Oh no, peering eyes, peeping toms. It echoed on and off, mixed with the occasional sound of footsteps stomping on the ground.
獣か
A beast?
いやこれは人間のものだな
No, that has to be human. I strained my ears to uncover the source of the sound. On instinct, I fumbled to draw the sword I'd placed leaning against the rocks, but the lightness of the sheath reminded me that I'd left it behind for restoration. I leaned slightly over the rocks and peered into the forest, but unfortunately, whoever was behind this was in a blind spot, and the sound indicated they were seemingly moving away from me.
山菜か薬草取りか
Out picking edible plants or medicine, huh? Now that I thought about it, there were several plants in this area that could be used as food and medicine. However, since these were in the backwoods far from the human village, all sorts of beasts tended to live here, making it very dangerous for humans. So, this was yet another place humans rarely visited, albeit for different reasons than owning Fuji.
まあいい
Well, whatever.
やり過ごせばすぐに立ち去るだろう
If they're just passing by, should be gone soon. I sunk into the water again. Honestly, my heart was tired now, so I had no interest in hiding and watching them. However, I sensed a clearly different presence from the one I'd been monitoring up until now. It had a sinister malice and bloodlust to it. This one was a beast, no doubt about it. And those impulses were clearly focused on one point. Huh? Riku. I faintly heard a voice choke with fear and shock as if to indicate just that. It really was a human, and a man, a young adult at most. The beast was unmistakably after him, and it didn't take much thought to imagine he'd be killed at this rate.
最近のあなたは無理をしすぎです
You have been pushing yourself too hard lately.
ある意味では意固地になっているとも言えます
In a sense, one could say you've gotten stubborn.
自らを守るだけならいざ知らず共に戦う同胞を支え襲撃を受けた人間たちをもかばおうとしています
I do not know when it comes to protecting yourself, but you have been attempting to protect your brethren and humans under attack during battle,
能力の限界を超えて
all while pushing the limits of your abilities.
おせっかい者か
So I'm a meddler, huh? I recalled what Renuk said. As long as the foe wasn't a Griffiths, I had no obligation to save him. There shouldn't be anything wrong with abandoning him. Whoa! Whoa! But as soon as I heard a scream, I got out of the watering hole and lightfootedly leapt over the rocks, running up the mountain slope in a flash. There I found a young human man just as I'd deduced, and a bear twice my size. Gwa, gwa. It's a good bear impression. The giant bear stopped and looked in my way when I suddenly appeared. The distance between them was so short that the young man's head would have been flying through the air if I'd been even a second late. Who are you?
下がれ
Get back! I looked over my shoulder as I stood in front of the young man, collapsed on the ground in fear, gave him that order, and then faced off against the bear. The bear changed the target of its hunt to me, and once it rose its arms, I immediately kicked the tree next to me and charged at it. Chia! Whoa! I ducked under a blow strong enough to mow down a tree, shoved my palm right at the bear's throat. And as I heard his chilling roar right in my ear, I wrapped my right arm around its crooked neck and elbowed it directly in the forehead with my free left arm. Yup! Whoa! Large bear swayed, seemingly disoriented from the violent impact. The already brittle gravel and pebble footing collapsed under that force. The bear dragged me down as we rolled down the slope. Whoa! Even as we become entangled and intertwined, the bear exposed its fangs and tried to bite my throat. How impudent. I kicked the ground to reduce the speed of my fall, stopped, then thrust the charging bear away with my hands while still kneeling. That crushing sense of weight passed through its limbs, causing its joints to scream. A moment later... Rah! I waited until the bear swung its arms up to attack again, lunged at its chest, and tightened its shoulders. Then, as its huge body lumbered around to catch its center of gravity, I threw it right off the cliff with me. Ugh.
死にさらせこの獣か
Die, you beast! Some good sound effects there. We fell right into the waterfall basin with a booming splash, water scattering everywhere. What's the sound you made? That was pretty accurate there. The young man remained frozen on the ground for a while after that battle, which had only lasted a few minutes, but he came to his senses and awkwardly descended the slope. Then, when he saw the vast amount of blood rising from the waterfall basin, he momentarily forgot himself and dove right in. After a short while, the giant body of the bear floated face down on the surface of the water. But there was no sign of the one who'd risked her life to save him.
Masaka.
It couldn't be. Had she sunk to the bottom of the basin? Once he realized that, the man frantically ran into the water to try and save his own savior, making splashes as he did. Just then...
獣の分際でリュウンを舐めるな
Don't underestimate a rune, you low-life beast. I slid past the bear's body and ascended the surface, rising to the banks of the marsh. Long, sharp claws were sticking out of my hands. My eyes, visible through my sopping bangs, were dyed scarlet.
大丈夫ですか
Are you alright?
それは私のセリフだ
I should be asking you the same.
そなたこそ大事はないか
You're not hurt, are you? Young man running over to me blushed and nodded in response. It'd been a long time since I spoke to locals here, but it seems my words got through to him based on his reaction. And once I sensed from the young man's expression he was indeed unhurt, I smiled faintly, retracted my claws, then turned over the corpse of the bear floating in the water inside.
気に入った水場だったが当分は使えそうにないな
Looks like I won't be able to use my favorite watering hole for a while.
あのクマの体どう運び出すか
Now, how to carry the body?
ああ念のために言っておくがここでのことは他言無用だぞ
Oh, just so we're clear, not a word of this to anyone.
命を拾ったことを幸いに思って早急に立ち去るがよい
You should leave right away. Celebrate your survival.
はい
Alright. When I looked back at the young man and observed his reaction, something felt off. I could have understood if he was afraid of me for killing a bear, or if his brain had stopped thinking in the face of this unexpected turn of events, but neither was the case for this young man. Instead, he was blushing and seemed embarrassed about something.
あそうか
Oh, right. I clapped in understanding. Now that I thought about it, I'd taken off my clothes before entering the watering hole. So, at the moment I was... Okay. Come on. You don't have to show... don't have to show me the image again. I'm aware. Whoa, 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 wait a goddamn minute. I didn't notice because of how quickly I'd run to his rescue, but I wasn't wearing any clothes, which meant that I was currently... naked? Question mark, exclamation point? How silly, how goofy, how wacky, how zany. I let out a scream the likes of which I'd rarely made before, and hurriedly sunk back into the watering hole. When he saw that, the young man came to his senses, as though he'd been freed of paralysis, and quickly turned around. How careless, how disgraceful. You bastard!
あの私は見てませんから
I didn't see anything.
もう全然
Yes, absolutely nothing.
実は目が悪いのであなたの裸は全く見えませんでした
I actually have bad eyesight, so I didn't see your naked body at all. That's a really good lie. That's a really good way. That's a good lie. Good job, new guy. And yet you know I'm naked! He saw me. He saw every last bit of me from top to bottom. And when I was naked, of all times, this is something that no one, not even another rune or woman, had seen ever since I took up the sword as a child. And it was by a human man of this world of all things.
正直に申すがよい
Be honest with me.
貴様どこまで見た？
How much did you see?
いえ全然見てません。
Nothing at all. Remember, I said I'm blind.
ちらっと全身見えただけです。
I just caught a glimpse of your whole body. That's all. He may have been trying his best to play it off, but it only had the opposite effect, stoking my shame and rage. Then, did that mean this man said that on purpose? Oh, whoa. I guess the only thing she could do is kill this guy right now. Oh, that is it. Something in my brain snapped and my boiling thoughts rapidly cooled down. That's right, this man said it on purpose. And he was remembering everything he'd just seen and was loving every goddamn second of it. For the love of all that is holy, I can kill him, right? This is a death sentence, you impotent son of a bitch. Yeah, murder him.
Come on!
Fuck it, do it. How dare you? I felt shame too, of course. At the very least, it was nothing short of humiliating to have all my private areas exposed to the world, and not to my brethren, but to a human, the most intelligent of beings on this world.
最後に何か言いたいことがあるか？
Tell me, any last words?
とりあえず
There is one thing.
とりあえず
And what would that be?
ごちそうさまでした。
Oh, God. Why? Thank you so much for the treat.
沈め！
Yeah, she should murder him. Sink! I grabbed him by the neck and chucked him right into the marsh. The young man vanished into the waterfall basin with a giant pillar of water. So goofy.
Ora, しっかりせんか。
Come on, get a hold of yourself, will you?
たく。
Jeez. I dragged the young man out of the waterfall basin, laid him on the rocky banks of the marsh, and slapped his cheeks. Which cheeks? Who knows? But his eyes didn't open, and all I got in return was a truly pathetic groan.
まったく軟弱なものだ。
What a weakling, I swear.
いくら人間とはいえ、あの程度で気絶するとはな。
I know you're human, but is that really all it takes to knock you out?
いえ、それはジェダンがやりすぎかと。
No, I believe it is because you went too far. Ryunuk talked directly to my brain via the crystal on my sheath. For a moment, I could have sworn I heard a hint of exasperation in her voice, and it probably wasn't my imagination.
この世界の人間と比べれば、あなたの腕力は数千倍であることをもうお忘れですか？
Did you forget your strength is thousands of times stronger than the humans of this world?
当たりどころが悪ければ、助けた意味が無意味に変わるところでした。
One wrong hit, and that rescue would have been completely in vain.
だから手加減したぞ。
That's why I held back.
軽く撫でてやっただけだ。
All I did was give him a light pat.
あの沈めの掛け声には渾身の力がこもっていたように感じられましたが。
That sink you shouted sure sounded like it had full strength in it, though. Am I correct? Or incorrect? Got her. I put my clothes back on while feeling discouraged. Thanks to that, I again remembered how I'd been naked until just a moment ago, sending a flash of shame through me.
竜王君、
Ryunuk,
この者の記憶を消すことは可能か？
is it possible to erase this man's memories?
かなり乱暴な措置になりますが、不可能ではありません。
The measures involved would be extremely rough, but it is not impossible.
そして私にはあなたのその選択を止める権限はありません。
And I do not have the authority to stop you from making that choice.
ただ、この人間はどう考えても意図的にあなたに危害を加えたわけではなく、むしろあなたの過失による被害者です。
However, no matter how you think of it, this human did not intentionally harm you, and is in fact a victim of your blunder.
それでもですか？
Would you still like to proceed?
要するに、やめろということだな。
So basically, you're telling me to stop, right? I clicked my tongue in a roundabout way of putting it, but since Ryunouk couldn't defy me, it was only natural for her to speak that way. Though I didn't feel like forcing her to do something she advised against either. However,
さすがに私にも道徳くらいはある。
even I've got morals. Ever since I came to this land, the Ryun made a self-imposed oath not to engage in unnecessary killing. It was a reprimand to keep us, with our overwhelmingly superior strength compared to humans, from becoming arrogant and haughty. Of course, you could express yourself by using that power. However, it was painful to see the violence and folly that lay at the end of that path. Not to mention, if we let that pass, we'd be making the same mistake as the Griffiths who'd committed crimes and were executed by us. It's true that my dignity took a serious blow when this human saw me naked, but in my head, I understood that it'd be slightly my pride if I made the foolish choice here. In my head, anyway.
仕方ない。
You're right.
治療のためにこの者をそちらへ連れて行く。
I'll bring him over to you for treatment.
構わないか。
You don't mind, do you?
その必要はありません。
That will not be necessary.
見たところ軽い脳震盪のようですから間もなく目を覚ますものかと。
From what I can tell, he has only suffered a light concussion, so he should be waking up soon.
そうか。
I see. Ow. I suddenly felt a slight pain in my foot and looked down. The top of my foot had been pierced by a broken tree branch and was bleeding.
あの時か。
From back then, huh? I kicked the ground rather hard when I was rolling down the slope with that bear, but completely forgot I was barefoot. Come to think of it, I felt some prickling pain all over my skin. Must be scrapes from the fall. Fortunately, none of them were serious, but since it had been a long time since something originating from this world had hurt me, I felt slight surprise and a fresh feeling.
ジェダ、どうしました？
Is something the matter, Jita?
ああ、ちょっとヘマをやってな。
Yeah, just made a tiny screw up.
傷を負ってしまったようだ。
Seems like got hurt.
わかりました。
Understood.
すぐに薬の準備を。
I will immediately prepare medicine.
ああ、大したことはない。
Oh, it's no big deal.
この程度なら手持ちの公約でなんとかなるだろう。
The ointment I've got on hand will be enough to take care of it. Figuring I'd stop the bleeding for now, I sunk my foot in the watering hole and wiped off the filth. I felt a slight sting from the cold water, but it quickly ebbed away.
あ、そうだ。
Whoops. I found myself at a loss after remembering something a bit problematic. A wound like this itself wasn't a problem at all, but I couldn't change into my astral body when I had external injuries. Transformation from a solid body to astral body was made possible by loosening the bonds of the high-order molecules that comprise our bodies. However, an injury disrupts the structure of that part of the body, leaving you unable to transform back into a solid body, or so Ryunouk said. Meaning that at this rate, I wouldn't be able to shift to my invisible astral body and return to Onigafuchi.
いかがいたしましょう。
What will you do?
必要であれば人目を避ける経路へ誘導しますが。
If needed, I shall guide you down a route that will avoid any prying eyes.
いや、いい。
Nah, it's fine.
今は戦闘時でもないしな。
It's not time to fight or anything.
とりあえず夜が更けるまで待つとしよう。
I'll just wait until the sun sets. After turning down Ryunouk's proposal, I looked up and watched the sky turn red. In this season, it probably wouldn't take much time for night to come. Just then. I turned around and when I heard a groan clearer than the last coming from behind me. I saw the young man grab his head, grimace, and get up.
あれ
Huh?
ここは
This is...
目を覚ましたか。
So you're awake.
気分はどうだ？
How are you feeling? Huh? The young man noticed my presence and turned to me after hearing my voice. I haughtily looked down on him with a blank expression, trying to hide my shame at having been seen naked.
あなたは
You're...
それ以上は聞かぬがよい。
Not another word.
長生きがしたいのならば、な。
Unless you want your life cut short. Huh? And finally, the young man's eyes widened in surprise when he took a good look at my face. Realizing what that reaction signified, I gave a faint, bitter smile.
この角か。
These horns, huh? Those two horns, physical trait of the Rune clan and the Putus, they're just something we're born with, so we don't particularly take pride in them, but humans tend to detest those with horns on their heads. They've always feared me and called me all sorts of names, such as demon, devil, monster, gargoyle, dark-sided. It doesn't feel good, but I'm used to this reaction by now. And now that he'd seen my horns, young man probably understood he was face to face with a demon. I could have played the part, but I didn't want to be considered a demon after saving his life, so instead I urged him in a dignified tone.
我はそなたらの言うところのお社様
I am the Oyashiro-sama your people speak of.
すなわち神の存在なり
In other words, I am a god.
故にここで見たことは他言無用
Therefore, you must speak of what you have witnessed to no one.
もっとも誰かに話したところで夢夢信じないとは思うがな
Though I do not believe anyone you tell would even believe you. I heard the young man gulp slightly. As expected, it seems to have had quite the effect on him, between the power I used to slaughter the bear and him being a firm believer of the Oyashiro-sama faith.
もしも村の誰かにこのことを打ち明ければお前と家族の身にそれ相応の最悪が下されるであろう
Should you speak of this to anyone, a fitting disaster will fall upon you and your family.
お前がやるべきことは全てを忘れて住処に帰り私と出会う前の記憶のまま明日を迎えること
All you must do is forget everything, go home, and greet the morrow as though this encounter never happened.
良いか
Understood? I always left those words behind when someone was unfortunate enough to spot me. There was actually no downside to them seeing me. The most that would happen would be my dwelling bursting with people who have heard the rumors and come to confirm them for themselves. However, rumors of a demon sighting would also lead to unnecessary fear from the residents of the settlement. So I would take advantage of the villagers' fear of demons to silence them like this. However... The look on the young man's face struck me as odd. His face was frozen and expressionless, but I sensed no fear in it. In fact, he was actually blushing while his gaze swam in bewilderment.
とりあえず誓え
Swear to me.
ここでの出来事はすぐに忘れるか死ぬまでお前の胸の中にしまい続けるか
That you shall forget all that has transpired here, or that you shall never speak a word of it and take it to your grave.
さすれば命までは取ろうとは思わぬ
Do so, and your life shall be spared.
はい
Yeah.
誓います
Yes, I swear. Very good. I could tell whether he was lying or not by the look in his eyes. At the very least, it seemed I could trust him.
ならば用は済んださっさと立ち去るがいい
That is all then. Pick yourself up and leave.
はいこのフルで陸天地神明に誓います
Yes, I, Riku Furude, swear to the gods of heaven and earth.
あれほどに美しいもの
Riku
むや
Furude.
みやたらに人に語ってよいものではありません
God. That your striking beauty is not something to be thoughtlessly spoken of to others. And this guy's trying too hard. Come on. This guy is desperate. He's thirsty. He's trying too hard. Please stop.
というかもったいなくて絶対に語りたくありません
Honestly, it'd be waste, so I definitely won't tell a soul.
故に永遠に忘れることなく死ぬまで私の記憶の中に留め置きましょう
Therefore, I shall never forget, and will take these memories with me to my grave. Wait, that's what you meant? I fell flat on my face just as I was turning to leave. At the same time, the dignified mask I've been mustering all my effort to maintain fell apart, and I grabbed the young man by the lapels and dragged him close while my face flushed scarlet.
いいか人間
Listen, human.
あのことは忘れよ
Forget about that.
今すぐにきれいさっぱり
All of it. Right now.
良いな
Understood?
いやそれは無理です
I'm sorry, but that's impossible.
見たのは事実でしたから
After all, I saw, and that's a fact.
無理でも事実でも何でも忘れろ
That doesn't matter. Just forget everything.
さもなければ貴様は家族ともどもたたりに苛まれようぞ
Otherwise, you and your family will be cursed, you know?
たたりは困りますが
That wouldn't be good.
すいませんやっぱりダメです
But I'm sorry, I just can't do it.
目を閉じるとまぶたの裏側にくっきりと焼き付いて離れてくれません
The sights have been burned so deeply into me that I can't stop seeing it whenever I close my eyes.
ふざけるな
Don't screw with me.
だったら その目をえぐり取るぞ。
And how about I gouge out those eyes?
ああ
You want that?
ジェダ、いけません。
Jida, you mustn't! Please stop! Rinu clearly asked me to stop this time, with rare panic in her tone. Her voice brought me back to my senses, and I retracted the claws I was about to threaten him with.
何をやっているのだ。
What the hell am I doing? Even I was surprised by that uncharacteristic reaction of mine. It's true I was embarrassed that he'd seen me naked. Even so, as far as I could remember, I'd never gotten this emotional with someone before, much less a human. Now, what struck out more was the odd sense of incongruency. Suspicious, I studied the young man's face. He was sweaty from panic and embarrassment, yet his eyes held no fear. It wasn't the sort of composure that came from a difference in strength or experience. No, it was something gentler and more open-minded than that.
お前怖くないのか。
You're not scared?
はい。
Huh?
見えているのだろう。
You see them, right?
この角が。
These horns?
ああ、そういえば。
Ah, yes, now that you mention it.
そういえばって。
He's into them, come on. Can't fault a man for being into some demon horn action. Now that you mention it, I went right past rage and straight into astonishment. Normally, one's eyes would be drawn right to them, but his weren't.
ならば今一度聞く。
Then let me ask you something.
貴様、この角を見ても恐れを感じぬか。
Are you not scared when you see these horns?
なぜですか？
Why would I be scared?
なぜって、だからその。
Why? Well, that's His response was so unexpected that I was the one left speechless instead. No way. This was the first time I'd ever been asked why they'd be considered threatening.
貴様も見ていたな。
You saw before, didn't you?
私は貴様が恐れるクマすら一撃でほふる力を持つものだ。
I had the power to take out that terrifying bear in one blow.
その気になれば、貴様の命をここでたやすく奪うこともできるのだぞ。
I could easily kill you right here now if I wanted to, right?
あ、そうか。
Oh, I see.
そうかじゃないだろう。
This guy's just like the modern man. I see. Seriously, that's your response?
いえ、すいません。
Oh, I'm sorry.
先ほど見た光景があまりにも短美でありましたので、そのようなことをすっかり忘れておりました。
It's just what I saw was so stunningly beautiful that I completely forgot all about that. Like we are like just a few minutes away from him just asking to be like stepped on by her. Like this guy is absolutely smitten.
笑うな。
Don't laugh.
つか、それはさっさと忘れると言ったであろう。
Didn't I tell you to forget it here now?
いや、だからそれは無理だと。
Like I said, that's impossible.
忘れぬのならば、その命をもらい受けるぞ。
If you can't forget, then I'll take your life.
わかりました。
I read that line weird. If you can't forget, then I'll take your life! Exclamation point. Understood.
人生の最後にあのような美しいものを見ていけるのであれば
See?
本望です。
That's what I'm saying. It's always been my dream to perish right after witnessing such beauty.
でもできるのならもう一度しっかりとこの目で。
Though if possible, I'd like to get another good look at it. He was like, please. It'd be an honor for you to kill me right now.
見せるか。
Like hell I'd show you. I raised my voice and shouted, as the bewilderment I felt grew bigger and bigger, and for some reason, my face had been feeling abnormally warm for a while now. My heart was beating to the point of suffocation for seemingly no reason at all, and my words were occasionally slurred.
なんなんだ、こいつは。
What is with this guy? He was far too shameless, or rather, his uninhibited attitude could even be seen as bold in a sense. Humans had occasionally seen me up until now, but all of them were scared, shivered, and simply brought their heads to the ground, begging desperately for their lives to be spared. Of course, I didn't see this young man as any kind of threat. If we fought, right here now, I'd have his head torn from his shoulders in a single blow, no doubt about it. So why wasn't he scared of me?
貴様、 何者だ？
What in the world are you?
あ、自己紹介をしておりませんでした。
Oh, that's right. I haven't introduced myself yet.
私はフルデリク。この村の神社にて祭事を取り仕切る宮司の息子です。
I am Riku Furude, the son of the chief priest who carries out the rites at this village's shrine.
フルデ神社。
Furude Shrine? Oh. The words brought back memories, along with a bit of understanding. If I remember correctly, or if I remember right, there was a small shrine in the mountains that the villagers evacuated to 20 years ago. It was then that the chief priest hailed me as Oyashiro-sama, in other words, the god who descended upon the village and slayed the demons, which meant he had been born in the family of my retainers, and thus perhaps he held some composure when it came to the awe of Oyashiro-sama. But it still felt strange. This Riku Furude had screamed when confronted by that bear, which meant he knew what sudden cough attack there, Jesus. Which meant he knew what fear was. Then why was it he wasn't afraid of me, the one who slaughtered that beast? Where did his composure come from?
あまりとぼけていると本気で殺すぞ。
Keep playing dumb, and I'll kill you for real, you hear?
私にはそれができる力があるのだからな。
I've got the power to do it.
ええ、分かっています。
Yes, I know.
でもどうしてかな。
But it's strange.
そうならないと勝手に安心しきって本気であなたを怖いとは思えないのです。
For some reason, I feel like that won't happen, and I'm genuinely not afraid of you.
貴様の考えなど聞いておらん。
I'm not asking what you think.
大体
First of all,
それに命の恩人のあなたが私に危害を与えるはずなどありません。
and besides, I can't believe that my savior would do me any harm.
そう考えるのは変でしょうか。
Is it strange to think that? I just didn't get it. It made no sense. There was no lie or bluff on his face. He clearly believed what he said from the bottom of his heart. Did he trust a total stranger like me so much because he was soft? Or was he just an idiot?
それで
So... Hmm?
あなたのお名前は何と申しますか？
May I ask for your name?
あのな。
You serious? I clung to my head. His seemingly bottomless insolence was giving me a headache. Humans had asked me questions for decades, no, perhaps even centuries, but never had one asked for my name before. But more importantly, why would he even think of doing that now? How the hell was this guy's brain wired?
ひょっとして
Could it be...
なんだ。
What?
お名前がないのですか？
Do you not have a name?
でしたら
If so, then...
ある。バカにするな。
I do! Don't make fun of me! Then I loudly cleared my throat and stated my name.
私はハイリューン、エアソムールジェダ。
I am Hyrule Yosumo Jida.
この地にてジェダを担う者。
The Jida responsible for this land. You must say my full name every time you address me. I felt somewhat embarrassed. This was the first time I had formally named myself to anyone, including Philip Cutis. After all, ever since I was born into this world, I'd grown up surrounded by people who knew me. So there was no need to name myself, nor for anyone to call my name. Pretty much the only times I said it were when chanting the formal prayer while executing Griffiths.
どうした？
What's wrong?
いえ、すいません。
Oh, I'm sorry.
よく聞き取れなかったので、もう一度お願いできますか？
I don't think I caught that. Could you please say it again?
はあ？
No. What? Honestly, I was irritated, but when I considered he might have had trouble hearing it due to my slightly awkward enunciation, I said it again.
わかったか？
You get it?
え
Huh?
はい入
High new...
いえ、イエスサーホイサーってのは掛け声ですか？
Yeah, yes sir, no sir... Was I close?
己の耳は飾り物か！
Are your ears just for decoration? Just as I was getting pissed and starting to yell, it finally hit me. I remembered hearing somewhere before that my name was difficult for the humans of this world to make out. And yet here I am, the reader of this, having to say the name every time it comes up. So cut me some slack. Even the character in the story says that her name's hard to pronounce. That makes sense. In other words, they can't pronounce or hear it right because it's hard to convert into their language. It all makes sense. Then, what the hell was the point of telling him my name? I felt like tearing out my hair at the buffoonery I was being subjected to. And yet, it was strange. Even though this tone-deaf conversation had been pissing me off to no end, I didn't feel like leaving. And what was this indescribable throbbing in my chest? Oh, boy. Though I grimaced at how annoying it was, I repeated my name several times after that at the young man's request. So this is just gonna turn into like a meet. This is basically, I think I'm just reading a meet cute. I'm just reading an elaborated like meet story, love story thing. It had a weird beginning, but I'm assuming this is just. I mean, I also don't probably need to spoil how I probably see how this is gonna go and what's this eventually going to culminate into, but I mean, I think that's just what we're going to be reading here. Our last like big arc of Higurashi. Though I grimaced out how annoying it was, I repeated my name several times after that at the young man's request. But as I feared, I couldn't get the pronunciation across to him. Just as I was finally getting tired of it and was about to leave.
Sorta.
Just say your name is like a one-syllable name. Just be like, my name's Jane. Just call me Jane. Oh, I know.
In
that case, why don't I give you a name that's easier to say? Excuse me? What kind of idea is that?
実はちょっとした自慢なのですが、私が名付けた相手は長生きすると村の人たちの間ではなかなかの評判なのです。
It's actually a talent of mine. The villagers are rather fond of it. They say those I name are destined to live long.
この前もヨヘイさんの家で生まれたばかりの子牛に名を送ってあげましたので。
Why, just the other day I named Yohei-san's newborn calf. Don't lump me in with livestock. He really was making fun of me, wasn't he? And what nerve he had, daring to even think of naming a god. I couldn't tell if he was courageous or idiotic. Either way, giving him a straight answer would only make me tired. Fine, whatever. It's got nothing to do with me, so just call me however it sounds to you. And by the way, my name means the feathers or wings of birds, as you'd say in this land.
そうですか?
Is that right?
では、
Then, Hey now, it's not worth killing your brain over. Besides, I'm the god of this land, so you can't just call me anything like I'm...
あ、そうだ!
Oh, I got it.
いい名を思いつきました.
I came up with a good name. Listen to me, damn it! But Riku picked up a stick as though he hadn't heard me and drew a line in the ground. It was infuriating to be ignored, but I figured I could at least watch, so I looked down. What Riku wrote were characters of his language. How do you read this combination? What's this?
はい。最初の方はそれなりに聞き取れましたので。
Right. I could hear the first part fairly well.
それと、あなたの名前の羽が入っているという言葉の意味になって、掛け言葉として羽生と読みます。
Also, you said your name included wing or ha, so I took that, did a little play on words with what I heard, and got Hanyu.
ですから、これからあなたのことを羽生と呼んでもよろしいでしょうか。
So would it be alright with you if I called you Hanyu from now on? Hanyu? That was likely how Hai Ryun had sounded to him. Hanyu. My already throbbing heart pounded even harder at the sound of that unfamiliar and far too fresh name. Jira was my family name as an observer. Iosumu, which I know I'm saying incorrectly, and I heard the guy's elder say I can't replicate this, is a hereditary title based off the land I lived in. So this truly was the first time I'd be given my own name. Huh? Seriously, what the hell am I thinking? What am I getting so giddy about?
どうでしょうか。
What do you think?
気に入ってくれると私も嬉しいのですが。
I hope you like it.
気に入るも何も。
It doesn't matter if I like it or not.
そもそもお前は今後私のことを忘れて村に。
Besides, you're gonna forget all of this and return to your village.
あれ
Huh? Oh. Riku's face warped in shock when he suddenly noticed my foot standing right next to the characters written on the ground.
あなた、怪我をしているではありませんか。
You got injured, didn't you?
大丈夫ですか。
Are you alright?
あ
Hmm? Yeah. I looked down to find the top of my foot oozing blood again. I'd been planning to put ointment on it after I washed it off, but I'd completely forgotten about that up until now.
これくらい大したことはない。
This is nothing.
薬を塗ればすぐに。
I'll heal up quick once I put some medicine.
待っていてください。
Oh, please wait.
これを。
Use this. Riku took out what appeared to be medicinal plants and a towel from his basket lying on the ground. He then ground the medicinal parts on a nearby rock until they turned to paste, put it on my foot, and then wrapped the towel around the wound.
何を。
What are you?
とりあえず応急措置ですが。
I'd given you some first aid for the time being.
この薬草は血止めに効きますので、少しはマシだと思います。
It works as a styptic, so I think it should help.
本当に人の話を聞かんやつだな、お前は。
You really don't listen to others, do you? I stared blankly at the towel wrapped around my foot as it let out my upteenth sigh of the day. Huh? Come to think of it, could these medicinal plants
こ
be...
の薬草、そこの斜面で取ってきたものではないのか。
Did you get these plants from that slope over there?
え
Huh?
あ、はい。よくご存知ですね。
Oh, yes, you're well informed.
血止めと消毒によく効くのですが、うっかり行商人から買い置くのを忘れておりまして。
It works well to disinfect and stop bleeding, but I forgot to buy some from the peddler.
それを取っていて、命の危機にさらされたというわけか。
And so you risked your life to forage them for yourself.
薬を探して死んだとあっては、むしろ大いなる皮肉だな。
Would have been really ironic if you died searching for medicine. Riku scratched his head and laughed bashfully. Though the sun was setting, his face was so clearly reflected to me that it was dazzling.
あ、そうだ。
Oh, right.
すいません。申し上げるのが遅くなりました。
I'm sorry, I should have said this sooner. Huh?
助けてくれてありがとうございます。
Thank you very much for helping me.
あなたのおかげで命拾いしました。
You literally saved my life.
うん。
Sure. My eyes fell to my feet when he politely told me that. The wound on my right foot that Riku attended to. For some reason, it was so warm that I completely forgot the pain I'd felt earlier, and the efficiency of the medicine was no longer mattered to me.
それで羽生
So, Hanyu?
羽生
Hanyu? Huh?
ああ。
Oh. When he called out again, I remembered he was using his own name. Excuse me, his own name for me. Still, I'm a god to them, right? So why is he talking to me as if I'm an old friend of his?
よろしければしっかりと治療を行いたいので私の神社まで来ていただけませんか。
I'd like to take proper care of this, if that's alright with you. So why don't you come to my shrine? What an excuse to make. Riku is so smooth.
ここからでもそれほどに距離はありませんし、ぜひ。
It isn't that far from here, so you're more than welcome.
遠慮しておこう。
I'll pass.
なぜです？
Why?
私の姿を見れば、村人に無用の不安を与えるではないか。
My appearance would just give the villagers unneeded fear.
大丈夫ですよ。
It's alright.
実は私、村に降りることなく山沿いに神社へと向かう道を知っているのです。
You see, I actually know a way through the mountains that leads straight to the shrine without needing to go to the village.
ですから私についてきてくだされば問題ありません。
So it won't be a problem at all if you come with me. The right thing to do here would have been to ignore him and leave. No, Normally, I would have unquestioningly turned down his ridiculous, exasperating, and blunt response. But it was strange. Rather than curiosity, I felt a desire to talk more with this man that kept me from leaving no matter how hard I thought otherwise. I reflexively nodded. He's winning her over. He's so smooth with it. He's got that wrist.
わかった。任せよう。
Got it. I'm in your hands.
ありがとうございます。
Thank you very much.
それから、
Also,
まだ何かあるのか？
there's more?
できればこの上の斜面に登るのを手伝ってもらえましたら。
I'd appreciate if you could help me climb this slope.
実は私、岩登りが非常に苦手でして。
I'm actually quite bad at rock climbing. I swear, just how ignorant was this man? How exciting. How exciting. Let's see if we can read like one more section here. At first, I was planning on leaving quickly, yet in the end, 1 month later. The bright sunlight shone into the room through the transforms of the veranda, warming it up. Or transoms? When I pressed my cheek against the tatami mat while lying down, I found the scent and texture of the rushes so comfortable that I just wanted to fall asleep right then and there.
いけない。
Oops, can't have that. Falling asleep in the middle of the day would be the pinnacle of sloth. It was with the thought I forced my eyes to stay open, stretched out my limbs, and took a deep breath.
リク、昼の食事はまだか？
Riku, is lunch all ready yet?
はーい。
Soon!
ちょっと待っていてくださいね。
Just wait a little longer, please.
わかった。
Wow, that was... A lot must have happened over that course of 1 month. Okay. After hearing Riku's reply from the kitchen, I flopped right back down to the tatami mats in the living room. The faint, delicious scent of cooking wafted in. What vegetables were those? Or was it meat? Phew. I opened my eyes and looked up at the ceiling. The wood was white, like it was brand new, and the wood grain was arranged in a neat pattern. And there wasn't a single spiderweb or speck of dust to be found, likely due to Riku being a neat freak. I strained my ears and heard a cacophony of chirping cicadas. All the time and experiences I had in this state were so fresh that I found them fascinating.
だからといって、私は何をやっているんだ。
Still, just what the hell am I doing? Now what are you doing, Hanyu? That's right, everything on that day went fine until I visited the Furude residence on Riku's invitation. However...
せっかくなので、食事でもどうです？
Since you come all this way, would you like some dinner?
もう遅いので、泊まっていかれては。
It's gotten late, so why not stay the night?
怪我が治ってからでも別に遅くはないでしょう。
It's not too late to wait until your wounds heal up, right? And so after getting pulled in by one offer after another, in the blink of an eye, I found that I'd spent over a month in this estate. I mean, this is crazy. This guy just kept going, you should probably stay another day. I got wounds to heal.
神様のお世話は、この神社に勤める私の義務です。
Taking care of God is my duty as one who serves at the shrine. I was grateful that the man saying that was gallantly devoting himself to my meals and personal care. But does he plan to keep me in this house because he's mistaken me for a Zashiki Warashi, or some symbol of good fortune? My right foot had made a complete recovery long ago, of course. It wasn't that major of an injury to begin with, so it was inevitable once we stopped the bleeding and disinfected it. But in the end, I never once used the ointment I'd had on me. Of course, using Runuk's specially synthesized ointment would have healed it, nigh perfectly on the spot, better than those natural, barely effective medicinal plants. However...
はい。
Okay.
それでは足を出してください、羽生。
Please hold out your foot, Hanyu.
構うな。
No need.
手当てくらい自分でできる。
I can do it myself.
あ、ダメですよ。
Ah, you can't do it that way.
薬草はもっとしっかりすりつぶして全体に塗らないと。
You need to crush the plants harder and rub them all over the wound.
うるさい。
Shut up!
私は今までこうしてきたのだ。文句を言うな。
This is how I've always done it, so no complaining.
ほら羽生、違いますよ。
Come on, Hanyu. You've got it all wrong.
包帯の巻き方はこうやって。
You have to wrap the bandage like this.
本当に人の話を聞かないやつだな、お前は。
You really don't listen to others, do you? Oh, they're just like a bickering couple. Oh my goodness.
笑うな。
It's not funny.
まったく。
Sheesh. When I pictured Riku's gentle face as he fussed over my simple foot wound like we were family, I let out an exasperated sigh. But for some reason, I wasn't displeased in the slightest. In fact, having Riku tend to me while I complained his ear off felt even comforting, in a sense. And thus, once my wound had completely healed, I even felt disappointed, for whatever reason.
どうしたのだろう、私は。
What's gotten into me? After hearing that Rinook told me the other day, or what Rinook told me the other day, I stayed here thinking I could heal my body and mind a bit. And yet, I didn't understand. Whenever I talked with Riku, I got unusually irritated and emotional. My face would flush, and my heart would pound like mad, to the point where it was almost suffocating. And yet I kept meeting and talking with him about all sorts of things. And now that the end of it was in sight, I was feeling reluctant.
こんなこと今まで一度もなかったのに。
This has never happened to me before, so why? Honestly, I'm not good at dealing with people. I don't know what it was like for the other Putus, but I'd get oddly uncomfortable when in a group and feel like keeping my distance from them. Even with Shizen, the late Jira who served as my partner in this island nation, I didn't talk to her any more than necessary. So why was it I didn't feel that sort of agony and reluctance with Riku?
羽生、
Hanyu?
うん。
Just then, a voice came from the hallway as if to interrupt my thoughts. I sat up, looked that way, soon spotted Riku's silhouette on the other side of the paper door.
入ります。
May I
よ
come
ろしい
in?
です。
Oh, I cut the man off.
入ります。よろしいですか？
ああ。
May I come in? Huh? Sure. The door quietly opened after I answered, and Riku entered the room. He carried a pot with a delicious smell wafting from it, most likely something boiled. Then, after placing the pot on the hearth, he momentarily returned to the kitchen, then came back with a tray of bowls and utensils.
お待たせしました、羽生。
Thank you for waiting, Hanyu.
さあ、食べましょう。
Let's eat, shall we?
あ、うん。
Oh, sure.
今日はイノシシの肉を漁師さんから分けてもらいましたので、筑前煮にしてみました。
A hunter shared some of his game with me today, so I made shikuzeni stew with boar meat.
羽生は好きですか？
Do you like that?
筑前煮と言われても、私はよく知らぬ。
I can't really say I've had it before.
一体どんなものだ？
What is it exactly?
ああ、それはですね。
Ah, well, see? Riku smiled brilliantly as he explained the dish to me. But unfortunately, I knew jack all about cooking, so it went right over my head.
とりあえず、まずは食べてみてからということで。
For now, just try and see if you like it.
嫌いなものはありますか？
Is there anything you don't like?
特にはない。
Not really.
あ、辛い野菜とかはやめてくれ。
Oh, no spicy vegetables actually.
気分が悪くなるから。
They make me sick.
わかりました。
Understood. Riku said that, putting the shikuzeni stew in a small bowl before placing it on my tray. Afterwards, he set out his own portion and rice for two, lined up his chopsticks, and turned to me. I could tell without eating that it smelled wonderful and seemed... What was the word Riku taught me again? Right. Delicious.
はい、お待たせしました。
Alright, thank you for waiting.
うん。いただくぞ。
Yep, let's dig in.
お、
Riku suddenly reached out his hand and grabbed my own. Confused what he was up to, I looked his way to find him giving me a troubled smile.
なんだ、リク。
What's up, Riku?
羽生、
Hanyu?
あれほど女性の喋り方はそうじゃないと申し上げているではありませんか。
I've told you many times that isn't the way ladies talk, haven't I? Alright, Riku, you don't get... Yeah, You're in the presence of a god to come like in like you don't get to say no back the fuck up. In my opinion.
はい、やり直し。
All right, let's try that again. Controlling much? Right. Though I was a bit ticked at him for scolding me like a baby, I reluctantly changed my tune and carefully put my words together. If I remember right, I'm supposed to put the chopsticks down, place my hands together, and...
いただきます。
Thank you for the meal.
これでいいか?
Is that okay?
いいですか?
Was that alright?
いいですか?
Was that alright?
はい、よくできました。
Yes, well done. I don't like this guy's attitude. Hanyu, commence killing him. Take him out back. I can't tell if he's praising or mocking me. However, I feel like the corners of my lips have raised a little, so I look away in a fluster. It started a few days ago. Riku and I were just chatting one day when he suddenly told me that I didn't speak like a lady. Thinking about it, I learned to speak this land's language from male Ryun, starting with the elders. Thanks to that, it seems I've been talking like a guy without even knowing it. But my guard was down at the time, so I carelessly responded with, What do you mean? That didn't go well, to say the least.
どうです？一度試してみますか?
Not this music. How about it? Would you give it a try?
いや、その...
He's trying to change her too much. If you're gonna go like, oh, you're so beautiful, I've seen you naked, and you saved my life, and I'm overcome with and smitten by my love for you. And then you take her back to your place in some weird, like, oh, I've gotta help your wounds or whatever. And then day after day passes, like, oh, you're still healing, stay, or whatever. And then a month in, you're like, all right, time to change her. That's not how women talk. Get out of here. Get out of here, Riku. I don't like your attitude. You know what? I would respect this arc. If this story goes in a way, I don't think this is gonna happen. I don't actually think this is how it's gonna happen. But I would have maybe infinitely more fun times with this arc and this story. If like I'm not reading like way too much into it, and he does start like over the course of the story, like start evolving into this like really shitty and terrible person, and like these early moments of him like trying to like, I sound so like I'm reading way much into it, but like him like trying to like change how she speaks and how he acts around him or whatever, like that's him like being like controlling and manipulative or whatever, and they're like early like subtle like hints, and then he starts like he's really like somehow like, I don't know, a terrible the big bad, I say that in heavy quotes, the antagonist of this chapter or something. You know how fun that would be? We're not getting that. That's not what we're getting. Instead we're gonna get the love story between them, and she, you know, he's this goofy guy and she's the stern, you know, I'm leagues ahead of you kind of thing, and then she's gonna adapt to his human lifestyle, and he's like, oh, like him being like, oh, that's not how lady humans talk, is supposed to be seen as like charming, I guess, and she's gonna be like reluctantly going along with it. Like that's what we're actually getting. But if we got the other thing, that would be fun. Anyway, Hanyu's like, no, I don't see a problem sticking this way.
大丈夫です。とても簡単な修正ですから。
It'll be alright. It's a very simple change of words.
きっと今まで以上に素敵な感じになると思いますよ。
I'm sure it'll make you even more charming than you already are. I frantically tried to take it back, but considering how little Riku actually listened to anyone, it was far too late. Afterwards, I was basically forced to take a crash course in female linguistics from Riku, which, with the help of Ryunuk, brought me a little closer to sounding like a typical woman.
大体くどいようだが。
Besides, not to be a jerk.
ですが、この村にとっては神同然の存在ですよね、私は。
I mean, ungrateful, but I am considered a god in this village, am I not?
その私がなんでここまでしないといけないのだ
So how come I gotta...
です
why do I have to do all of this?
いやいや、女性といえば丁寧な話し口調の方が似合いますからね。
Now, courteous expressions are more befitting of a lady.
毅然とした喋り方のあなたもいいですが、やはり女性らしい喋り方だと好感が一層高まりますよ。
Your frankness is good as well, but if you talk like a girl, you'll come off as more lovable.
どっちでも普段の生活では大差ないではないか
Either way, it's no skin off my back.
です
It is not that big of a problem if I don't, is it? Plus, I honestly had no obligation to revise my speech, and even if I did, there's barely anything in it for me. Yet even so, Riku saw me as a woman, even though I had horns and wasn't of this world. So I had been too embarrassed to even say this to his face. That made me feel really good. I'd gone through life up until now paying absolutely no mind to the fact I was a woman. No, to be perfectly honest, I never even thought I was different from a man apart from times I could feel our differences in strength. But ever since meeting Riku, I've slowly but surely begun to regain self-awareness of my newly forgotten gender. And he has also fulfilled my long-held secret desire to be seen not as a demon, nor a god, but as me, a resident of this world. It made me feel... That's right, it made me happy.
どうです？味は。
How does it taste?
美味しいです
It's delicious. I wasn't lying or buttering him up. That's how I really felt. Up until now, I'd considered all food mere nutrients meant to stave off hunger, and I'd never done anything to take it beyond its base flavor. The most I'd ever done was chop it up to make it easy to swallow, or boil it to disinfect it. But I'd absolutely no idea that food that took time to prepare could provide such sheer satisfaction and delight.
ああ、羽生。
Hanyu.
箸の使い方が上手くなりましたね。
You've gotten better at holding chopsticks, huh?
そうか
Is that right?
じゃなかったそうですか
I mean, do you really think so?
ええ、
Yes.
もうすっかり上手に挟めているじゃないですか。
You've gotten the hang of keeping a firm grip on the food, haven't you?
この程度数回繰り返せばすぐにできます
Even a child could do that much after a few tries. I grew somewhat irritated and turned away as I brought the sliced blocks of meat to my mouth. The sweet meat juices flooded into my mouth when I bit in, and chewing and swallowing them filled me with satisfaction. To begin with, I'd intentionally simplified the act known as eating. By eating, my body produces waste products as a result of digesting organic matter, which, much like injuries, prevent me from transforming into my astral body. The ability to transform into an astral body greatly influences the tide of battle when fighting the Griffiths. Thus, since battles were a regular part of my life, I minimalized my meals as a precaution, and I never ate much more than fruit. But now... Just what is this? What is this warm, comfortable atmosphere? I never thought about being with someone and eating the food they made could feel as good. Being in this atmosphere made me feel as light as a feather.
どうしました？羽生。
Is something wrong, Hanyu?
何でもありません
No, it's nothing.
おかわりですリク
More, please, Riku. Yet in contrast, I felt a growing yet bizarre irritation. Plus, everywhere from my cheeks to my neck was burning up like crazy. Beyond crazy. After lunch and cleaning up, Riku made me tea.
どうぞ、羽生。
Here you go, Hanyu.
あうん
Thanks. I lightly stirred the teacup and took a sip, and immediately smiled at the rich aroma. Tea after a meal was a considerably luxurious taste, but Riku had apparently badgered a peddler into selling him some last month, saying it'd be good for healing my wound, even though my wound hadn't even left a scar.
今日もいい天気だな。
Nice weather again today, don't you think?
風が気持ちいいです。
The breeze feels good. I can't do the noise. Yeah. Riku and I sat side by side on the veranda and looked at the vegetable garden in the yard. As a priest of the shrine, Riku didn't have to work in the fields because he essentially lived off the villagers' crop and cash donations. He's one of those privileged people. I was a bit impressed by his considerable popularity in spite of his young age. Still, he told me that he didn't want to rely too much on others' charity and instead wanted to do whatever he could. So, he made his livelihood off the vegetables he grew here and the fish he caught. I suddenly stole a glance at the side of Riku's face while drinking the lukewarm tea. While his speech and conduct were typically carefree, his features held an innocence that seemed childish for a human about 20 years old. And above all else, there was the shrine deep in his eyes. Nope, shine, not shrine. I'm thinking of shrines. In them I could perceive a dazzling, immaculate purity completely different from shrewdness.
さて、
Alright then.
それでは私は境内の掃除に行ってきます。
I'll be heading out to clean up the grounds now.
何か?
Is something the matter?
いや
No. I've been staring at Riku's face for so long that it caught me off guard when he suddenly stood up, and I quickly looked away so he didn't catch a glimpse of my face. Cleaning, huh? So
リク
domesticated. Riku,
私も手伝いましょうか
shall I help as well?
Eh?
Huh? Riku's eyes widened for a second, as if he didn't understand what he just heard. As soon as I saw that reaction, I deeply regretted instinctively speaking up, but it'd be even more embarrassing to take it back, so I kept going.
だから
Look,
私もあなたの仕事のお手伝いをしようかと言っているのだ
I'm saying I should give you a hand.
です
Help you out with your work as well.
はあ。いや、しかし。
Oh, well, but... Riku's eyes darted around as he scratched his head, with a troubled look on his face. Don't tell me he doesn't think I can do it.
ただの掃除でしょ
It's just cleaning, right?
ほうきを使って落ち葉や土ぼこりを掃く
You use a broom and sweep up fallen leaves and dirt.
私にだってできますよ
Even I am capable of that much.
いや、そうじゃなく、
No, that's not what I meant.
前にも申し上げましたように、あなたはこの村の守り神様で、
As I've told you before, you are the guardian deity of this village.
それが理由というのなら他にもっと改めてもらいたいことが数多くあるのですが
If that is the reason, then there are a great deal of other things I would like to see changed.
え?
Huh?
これは一本取られました。
You got me there. It's not funny, bastard. You wanna get cursed for real?
しかし、いずれにしてもあなたは私の客人です。
But either way, you are still my guest.
さすがに家事を手伝ってもらうわけにはいきませんよ。
I couldn't possibly ask someone like you to assist with housework.
そうは言っても私はかれこれ1ヶ月余りあなたの世話になりっぱなしです
You say that, yet you have been taking care of me for over a month now.
ですからせめて少しだけでもお返しをしておかなくては気が済まないのです
So I will not be satisfied unless I at least repay you a little.
お気持ちは嬉しいのですが、
I appreciate the sentiment, but
さすがに日中はやめておいた方がいいかと。
I still think it would be best for you to stay in here during the day.
お
It was then I finally realized the reason for Riku's evasive attitude, as well as what he was looking at. Right. My horns. By no means had I forgotten them, but that was careless. He was concerned about other people seeing them.
やはり邪魔ですか私は
I really am a burden, aren't I?
いえ、
No,
そんなことは絶対ありません。
never.
父が城下町に赴任してからというもの、私はしばらくずっと一人暮らしでした。
I've been living by myself for a while, ever since my father was appointed to his position in the town near the castle.
ですから、あなたとこうやって過ごせることがとても楽しいのです。
So I am having a lot of fun spending time with you.
ただ、
It's just...
ただ
just what?
軽蔑してくれても結構です。
Scorn me if you will.
初めて会った時から私は、あなたのことが悪人には全然見えなかった。
Ever since we first met, you have never seemed like a bad person to me.
ですが、 何も知らない村の人があなたを見てひ
However,
どい言葉をぶつけないとも限らない。
however, that is no guarantee that oblivious villagers will not slander you when they see you.
それが嫌なんです。
I can't stand the thought of that. The humans of this village could be called exclusive. They look at anyone not their kind with prejudice and suspicion. It's like a result of the scars from the demon attack 2 decades ago. Deeply paranoid and constantly on guard, those traits summed up the majority of residents from Onigafuchi village. Thus, I agreed with Riku that Riku was right to be worried, or rather, I was a bit surprised he was being so considerate of me. But
そうは言ってもリク、
you say that, Riku.
私のことはすでに村の人々も知っているのでしょ。
But the villagers already know that I'm here, right?
どうしてそれを？
How did you know?
ああ、やっぱり。
So I was right. Figures. Actually, I'd asked without knowing for sure and bluffed him, but Riku was soft on others and a poor liar. There's always a near constant stream of traffic to and from shrines to begin with, so anyone sharp enough could figure out there's someone besides Riku in this house, given the right circumstances. And it's only human nature for people to want to know who else is living in the village priest's estate.
そんなに目につくことがまずいのなら、人の目からは見えない巨体になりましょうか。
If it's really that bad for people to see me, then why don't I turn into my astral form and become invisible to the human eye?
え？
Huh?
そんなことができるのですか？
You can do that?
今は無理でしたね。
Not right now, actually.
お腹に食物を入れている状態では。
I can't after I've consumed food. But if I'd stayed in my astral body, I couldn't have had a bite of Riku's food. And while it's truly pathetic to admit, now that I've been taken with its comforts, I'd rather have that.
そうだ。
Ah, right.
ちょっと待っていてください。
Please wait one moment.
いいものがあります。
I have a good idea. She's just gonna throw a hat on her. Oh, I've got an idea. All right, horns. We're gonna cover those up. Gets the biggest hat possible and just throws it on top of her head. Riku quickly returned to the living room, dragging a large portmanteau clothing box from the closet. I watched in confusion as he took off the lid and pulled out a white lump of cloth.
それは？
What's that?
以前ここに立ち寄った修験道のお坊さんが置いていったものです。
These were left here by a visiting Shugendo monk.
取りに戻られた時のことを考えて洗って保管しておいたのですが。
I thought he would come back for them, so I washed them and kept them in storage, but...
羽生？
Hanyu?
ちょっと頭を貸してください。
Please let me borrow your head for a moment. After giving a brief reply, Riku spread open the cloth and covered my head with it, taking care not to get stuck in my hair. He then took a hand mirror out of the portmanteau and asked me, how is it? I checked it from all different angles. It wasn't a bad way of hiding my horns.
とりあえず不便かもしれませんが、ここにいる間はその頭巾をかぶっていただいてもよろしいでしょうか。
Anyway, it may be inconvenient, but what would you say to wearing this hood while you were here?
村の人にはあなたが頭に怪我の跡があってそうしているのだと説明しておきますので。
I'll explain to the villagers that you're wearing it because you have scars on your head.
それであなたは大丈夫なのですか？
That'll not make any trouble for you, will it?
ええ、もちろんです。
No, of course not. Riku nodded to me with a huge grin. When I saw that face, I really did get the feeling that I won't be causing him any trouble, so I unconsciously replied, Alright.
でもそうなってくると服も神社にあったものが良さそうですね。
Ah, but if this is how we're going to handle it, it would probably be best to get some clothes from the shrine as well.
今のままだとどうしても周囲から浮いてしまいますので。
You'll stand out too much in your current outfit, so...
そうなのか。
Oh, yeah?
じゃない。そうなのですか？
I mean, is that so? I give myself another look. These are specialized armored garments worn by high runes to fight Griffiths. Though it looks like ordinary cloth at first glance, it's actually made to withstand a certain degree of slashes and impacts, and is very maneuverable so as to not interfere with battle. In hindsight, it only feels natural for me to move around in these clothes since I've been wearing them for as long as I can remember, but it's true that it sticks out compared to the rest of the village's fashion.
そういうわけですので羽生。
So with that said, Hanyu,
あなたは神社にあった服を着ていただけますか？
would you mind wearing the clothes I have at the shrine?
わかりました。
Very well.
この村に長くいるのであれば、それも必要な措置かもしれませんね。
That may be necessary if I'm to stay in this village for a long while.
でも、
Or you could just leave, Hanyu. You know? I know the food is great or whatever. And you love being spoiled. Oh, but I noticed a problem with accepting Riku's proposal. From what I heard, Riku lost his mother when he was young, and though his father is currently living away for work right now, the two of them supposedly live together. So how did he get his hands on women's clothing in an all-male household?
その点につきましては心配ご無用です、羽生。
No concern is necessary on that front, Hanyu.
は？
Huh?
実は私は
Truth be told,
こういう時もあろうかとこれだけの準備をしてまいりましたのです。
long have I made preparations precisely for a time such as this. Oh, he's just weird. Yeah, yep. Hanyu, get out of there. Now. Release yourself.
さあご覧ください。
Now, by all means, feast your eyes. And then, with an enthusiastic expression gesture, Riku opened the closet door on the other side of the living room. And inside was... What? Countless articles of clothing adorned the inside of the closet. And what's more, all of them were red and white. Miko outfits?
どうですか、羽生。
What do you think, Hanyu?
趣向に応じて様々な仕立てになったものをすべて取り揃えております。
All of them have been tailored to cater to many different kinds of tastes.
ああ、もちろん洗濯も手入れもきちんとして虫除けも万全です。
Ah, but they've all been washed and carefully tended to naturally and are perfectly insect repellent.
また仕立ても好みに応じて変化を加えておりますので、お好みに合わせて選んでください。
Furthermore, they are customizable to match your taste, so please choose one that suits your fancy.
さあ、
Go on.
ああ、羽生、あまりの感動に言葉もないと。
Ah, Hanyu, are you too moved to even speak?
いえいえ、いいんです。遠慮なさらないでください。
Trust me, it is quite alright. Please don't feel the need to hold yourself back.
私は巫女服をこよなく愛する。
As a lover of Miko outfits beyond all else.
あ、ではなく、神に仕える者として、そして羽生に最高のおもてなしをする者として、当然のことをしたまでですから。
No, as a servant of God, it is only natural that I provide you with the greatest hospitality I have to offer.
いや、そうじゃなくて。
No, that's not it. It took everything I had to squeeze out that response. It's true that this was a male-dominated household, but if they'd had women's clothing as a memento of his mother, or in case of emergency or something, it wouldn't have been all that strange. But no matter how you looked at it, the number of Miko outfits in this closet numbered 10, no, 20, no, likely more than that. And judging from their glossy fabric and pure, unblemished appearance, it was highly unlikely they'd just been left sitting here all this time. They were indeed as good as new.
おいおいおいおいおい。
Wait. Hey.
ちょっと待て。
Hold on a minute. Miko outfits were meant to be a uniform of women who worked for the shrine, but naturally, Fruita's shrine had no one you could call a Miko. Perhaps there were some, but at the very least, I hadn't seen any.
おい、竜王区。
Hey, Runok!
はい、なんでしょう、ジェダ。
She's buzzing in her friend. She's phoning a friend. Yes, Jada? What is it? I unconsciously brought the sword at my waist near my mouth, established a mental link to Runok via the charged crystal in the sheath, and sent my words to her. Runok, what the hell is going on?
竜王区、教えてくれ。
Runok, tell me.
この村に巫女というものが存在したのはどれくらい前だ？
When was the last time there was a Miko in this village?
お待ちください。検索しま
Please wait. Currently
し
confined.
た。
Confirmed.
お、どうした？
What's wrong?
ジェダ、
Jada,
答えてもよろしいのでしょうか。
are you sure you would like me to answer?
さっさと言え。
Just tell me already.
現在よりおよそ186年前になります。
It has been approximately 186 years since the last one.
ちなみに古出家当主の亡き奥方は神職ではなかったため巫女服を着用しておりませんでした。
Incidentally, since the late wife of Priest Furude was not a priestess herself, she did not wear any Miko outfits.
さらに申し上げると、この村で神社の駒働きをする女性は多数存在しましたが、皆神職ではないため巫女服を着ておりません。
Furthermore, there are a number of women in this village who do some work for the shrine, but as they are not priestesses, they do not wear Miko outfits either.
神事においては、この国の本社から相当数の巫女が派遣されて運営されているようです。
As for rituals, it seems a suitable number of Mikos are dispatched from this nation's HQ shrine to handle such affairs.
つまりどういうことだ？
So, what's this mean?
個人的な趣味による収集とでも申し上げるべきなのでしょうか。
I would say that he collects them as his own personal hobby. My head hurt. Probably had the same impression as Ryunuk, albeit on an entirely different level. Which means that this son of a bitch is...
そもそもですね、巫女服というものは神に仕える清らかな乙女のために作り出されたまさに芸術とも呼べる服装なのです。
My face, man. In the first place, Miko outfits created for those pure maidens who serve the gods go beyond mere attire. Indeed, they are art.
それを身にまとう資格があるのは同じ時間同じ場所に生まれてた女子の中でもほんの一握り。
And the only ones who have the right to wear them are a select few women, even those born at the same time in the same place.
いや、世代によっては皆無絶無の時もあり得る貴重で希少な存在にのみ許されたものなのです。
They are permitted to such a rare and precious few that some generations may find themselves completely absent of them altogether.
ちょっとこら。
Hold on one goddamn minute.
そしてこの村では残念ながらこれまで巫女服が似合う婦女子が全く持っておりませんでした。
And most unfortunately, this village has been entirely bereft of women who are suited to wearing Miko outfits.
まあ君吉村長の娘おしのさんならギリギリ大丈夫。
Although Mayor Kimiyoshi's daughter Shino-san may barely make the cut.
いややっぱり無理かも。
No, maybe that really would be too much of a stretch.
と本人の耳に入ればきっと半殺しどころか全殺しの目にも合いかねない失礼なことを考えたりもするほど私たちは完全なる不作長い冬の時代を過ごしてきたのです。
Though that is such a rude thought that Shino-san would literally kill me if she heard it, we'd end up spending a long, completely unbountiful winter.
私たちじゃなくてあなたがでしょう。
You mean I, not we, don't you?
しかし
However,
ここで私たちの前に一人の救世主が現れました。
the Messiah has finally graced us.
まさに神話とおとぎ話の中にのみ存在すると思われた麗しき女神様。
A resplendent goddess believed only to exist in myths and fairy tales.
それがあなたなのです。羽生
That is you, Hanyu.
聞けよ人の話を。
Listen to others for a change. Wait, what? Just then, Riku interrupted his passionate sermon to squeeze both my hands and give me the most serious look I'd ever seen from him. It was so intense that I reflexively flinched and felt those mysterious palpitations of my heart pounding hard against my chest as I barely managed to get my words out.
つまり私にどうしろと。
So, what are you telling me to do?
巫女服を着てください。
Please wear a Miko outfit.
この中からどれでも好きなものを選んで。
Choose whichever one you like from these.
さあ
Go on!
ああ。
Right. Hanyu, leave quickly. I never thought anyone could speak so passionately. No, so zealously about a single article of clothing. But I said I'd do it, so I walked into the closet. At any rate, the red and white Miko outfits do resemble my armored clothes a little, so I should be able to wear one without much discomfort. And so it was with that thought I grabbed a random outfit. What the actual hell?
どうしました羽生。
What is it, Hanyu?
リク、
Riku.
ちょっと聞きたいのですが、これ巫女服ですよね。
There's something I'm simply dying to ask you. This is a Miko outfit, yes?
はい、そうですけど。
Why, yes, but what of it?
じゃあなんで
Then why?
なんでこんなにも胸元が開いてるんだ
Why does it show off so much goddamn cleavage? What are we doing here? What are we doing? The chest is completely open for all to see.
はい。
Yes, indeed. Doesn't even hide it.
それが
Oh
大きな特
god.
徴なんです。ぜひ。
That's its major selling point.
たわけ
Fool.
ほげ。
This is such, I mean, again, I hate to keep bringing it up, but we had set a stretch of like several months where we were reading the advanced arcs, and it was like 98% like serious business constantly, right? And now we're back, the pendulum is swinging back, all completely the other direction, to finish our time with Higurashi, basically. And I know the story after this, I know is also very unserious, to say the least. So we've entered the opposite of what we've been reading, and so it's just that jarring switch up. Having finally hit my breaking point, I punched Riku in the chest. For a human like Riku, it was a full-bodied blow that sent him flying through the air like a leaf. He then crashed right through the paper door on the other side of the room and rolled all the way over from the veranda to the edge of the garden.
これも
This too?
これも
This one too?
これも
And this one too! I randomly grabbed the Miko outfits hanging neatly, grew enraged after checking their designs, and violently slammed them on the floor. One of them had pants so short it was a hair's breadth away from showing off the crotch. One of them had short sleeves. Sorry. One of them had short sleeves and the entire back bared on full display. And there was even one with fabric so thin you can make out not only the wearer's body structure, but even their colors. Oh. Boy. At the very least, if my memory is right, Miko outfits aren't designed like this. No, this is actually something completely different, isn't it? Riku's a fucking freak, dude.
どうですか、羽生。
What do you think, Hanyu?
気に入った服はありましたか？
Are there any to your liking? Riku said that and climbed up from the veranda, blood pouring down his nose, with a totally pure and innocent smile. But, this time it was...
というかリク
by the way, Riku.
この巫女服すべて微妙なところまで私の寸法にぴったりなのですが
All of these clothes are a perfect fit for me, even down to the questionable parts.
あなたひょっとして
Don't tell me that you...
はい。
Yes!
あなたのお世話をすると決めたその日から村と城下町に住まう同志の方々に頼んで入手してまいりました。
He doesn't even try to hide it. Ever since the day I decided to start taking care of you, I've been asking my comrades in the village and the castle town to get them for me.
ほほ
Oh, really now?
ちなみにどうやって私の体型を調べたのですか
Incidentally, how was it that you investigated my physique?
はっはっは。
Ho ho ho!
実はそれは私の特技の一つでして、
That's actually one of my talents.
これはと思った女性の体型を服の下からでもはっきりと目測することができるのです。
I can clearly measure a captivating woman's physique even when she's wearing clothes.
ああ、ちなみに羽生の寸法は
Oh, incidentally, your measurements are...
リク
Riku.
そういえばこういう時に最も適した言葉を以前大陸で教わりました
Now that I think about it, I learned a term on the mainland that is most fitting for situations like these.
Eh?
Huh?
この変態
You pervert! Kill him, murder him, murder! Murder time! However, I must have used a bit too much strength, as in the end it took a very long time for Riku to get back up afterwards. Dinner was Chikuzen ni stew again. Excellent. Oh, shit. We've got a tip that we must read. We'll read the tip. We can't go out. Now, I don't... Miku Outfits 101. What the hell is this about, huh?
ちなみにリク、一つ確かめておきたいことがあるのですが。
Incidentally, there's something I would like to confirm with you, Riku.
なんよ、ハリュー。
What is it? Ryu.
大げさに苦しんだふりをしないでください。
Please stop acting like you got mauled by a boar.
怪我などしていないくせに、何ですかその包帯は。
What is with those bandages? You didn't even get a scratch.
私に対する当てつけですか？
Are you insinuating something about me? I violently ripped off the bandages covering Riku's whole body after saying that. Just as I suspected, he didn't have a single scrape on him.
いやー、さすがにバレましたか。
Oops. Guess the secret's out, huh?
重傷っぽく見せていれば、ちょっとは心配してくれるかなと思ったのですが。
I thought that you would get a little worried about me if I appeared so gravely injured.
見くびらないでください。
Please do not belittle me.
いくらほんの少しだけ劇場に駆られたとはいえ、加減くらいちゃんと考慮に入れています。
I know I was driven just a little by fury, but I made sure to hold back all the same. However, I went too far and ended up damaging his bone tissue in spite of that, so I ordered some medicine from Ryunuk in secret. As a result, unlike usual, it was extremely awkward when I asked her for it. Her speech and conduct felt unusually barefaced when she gave me the medicine, but I think it only felt that way because of how overly suspicious I was. That's what I want to think, anyway. I shelved all that into a corner of my mind for now, loudly cleared my throat, and turned to Riku.
それで、お聞きしたいことは何でしょう？
So, what did you want to ask?
ええ。
Right.
そもそもあなたがどうしてあんなにも巫女服にこだわるのか、その理由を聞いておりませんでしたので。
In the first place, I haven't heard the reason why you're so fixated on Miku outfits.
それをお教え願えればとふと思った次第です。
So I was hoping I could ask you about it.
話せば、巫女服を着ていただけますか？
Will you wear a Miku outfit if I tell you?
内容によります。
That depends on what I hear. I deliberately ignored the twitching vein in my temple as I turned to Riku with a forced smile. It's true that while he did recommend those clothes, if you can even call them that, to me, I regret bursting into rage so carelessly against a human. Besides, if he's so attached to them, perhaps they remind him of his mother or some woman he looks up to. Based on all my interactions with him so far, I believe Riku actually is quite considerate and serious, despite his seemingly carefree exterior. So I'm starting to think there may be more to him recommending these scandalous customized Miko outfits than a simple hobby.
誰かの面影でもその巫女服とやらに重ねているのですか？
Do those Miko outfits remind you of someone?
あなたの母親か、あるいは
Like your mother or...
いえいえ、全然そんなことは。
Oh, no, not at all.
そもそも私に母の記憶はありません。
I don't even remember my mother to begin with.
以前、あなたに申し上げたかどうか定かではないのですが、実の両親は私が幼い頃、すでに亡くなっていて、今の父は血のつながっていない、つまり養父なのです。
I'm not sure if I already told you this, but my real parents both died when I was little. In other words, I was adopted by my current father and bear no relation to him.
そして父も私を引き取った頃には奥方と死別していたそうなので、私は母というものを知らずに育ちました。
And his wife had already passed away by the time he took me in, so I grew up without a mother.
そうなのですか？
Is that right?
すみません。知らぬとはいえつまらないことを。
I'm sorry for carelessly digging up old wounds. Even I knew that inquiring into his family affairs was a rude and inconsiderate act, so I honestly apologized. What is this feeling? It's like something's tugging at a corner of my heart. But why?
羽生？
Hanyu?
ああ、 すみません。
Huh? Oh, I'm sorry.
だったらあなたが巫女服にこだわるのは一体どうしてですか？
In that case, just why is it you're so fixated on Miko outfits?
そうですね。理由としては確かに大小を含めていろいろありますが、
Well, there are indeed a variety of reasons.
やっぱり一番の理由は
But if I had to say, the biggest one is
理由は
what?
巫女服が好きだからです。
Because I love Miko outfits.
Oh.
What? What?
なるほど。
I see.
時にリク、
And by the way, Riku,
重ねてあなたに質問が。
I have another question for you.
あなたは火攻め、水攻め、土攻め、拳攻めのいずれがお好きですか？
Do you prefer torture by fire, water, earth, or fists?
ちょっと待ってください。
Please, wait a minute.
あなたが理由を聞きたいとおっしゃったので私は正直に申し上げただけですが。
All I did was answer your question honestly, didn't I?
リク、
Riku,
私はどうやらあなたを見誤っていたようです。
it would seem I misjudged you.
もう少し理性的で納得できる、傾聴に値するだけの根拠があって、この私にあれだけの恥辱を味わわせているのだと思っておりました。
I thought you were a little more rational, reasonable, and worthy of listening to. That's why I allowed you to put me of all people, through that total humiliation.
羽生
Hanyu?
笑顔がちょっと、いや結構、いやものすんごく怖いんですけど。
Your smile is a little, extremely frightening.
お庭に出なさい、リク。
Come on out to the garden, Riku.
久々に
For the first time
ほんのちょっと私
in a really long while.
切れてしまったかも。
I may have snapped just a little.
いや、羽生
No, Hanyu.
あなたは誤解しています。
You've got the wrong idea.
別に私はあなたをからかおうなんて気は全くありませんでした。
I wasn't trying to insult you by no means.
神に誓ってそんなつもりは毛頭。
I swear to God, that was not my intention at all.
ほ
Oh, really now?
だったらなんで巫女服をあんな得体の知れないハレンチな造形に仕立て上げたというのですか？
Why did you have those Miko outfits made as such incomprehensible and shameless perversions?
いや
Well,
仕立てる際に以前沢でお見かけしたあの美しい姿をもう一度見たいなんて考えてしまいまして。
when I had them made, I was thinking about how I wanted to see that work of beauty I once glimpsed at the swamp one more time.
それでつい
And so I got carried away.
つい
You got carried away?
それはなお一層立ちが悪いな。
That's even worse.
仮にもこの村の神である私を自分の下品で下びた趣味と思考の対象としようなど言語道断、問答無用。
You're trying to make me, the Gatos village, into the subject of your perverse and indecent hobby? Unforgivable. Inexcusable.
守り神を自らの愛人に仕立て上げようとしたかつての大陸の王と同様に地獄に行くがよいわ。
He'll be going to hell just like that old king from the mainland who tried to set his guardian deity up as his mistress! Crash, boom, bang.
いいか、覚えておけリク。
Now get this through your head, Riku.
貴様がそのようなよこしまな雑念を捨てぬ限り、私は断固としてお前の改造した巫女服の着用はお断りだからな。
So long as you refuse to abandon such wicked thoughts, I will never, ever wear one of your customized Miko outfits.
いい加減目を覚ませ。
Just wake up already.
冷めるどころか意識が遠のきかけているんですが。
At this rate, I think I'm going to pass out, not wake up. But
とにかく
anyway,
巫女服の着用をそこまで願うのでしたら、せめて礼儀として一般常識に照らし合わせた通常の造形をしたものを仕立てて持ってきてください。
If you're so desperate to have me wear a Miko outfit, please at least bring me one that's proper and adheres to common sense. One with no adjustments whatsoever.
いいですか?
Is that clear?
あーで
Oh, ow, 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 ow.
では通常の仕立てであれば着てくれるのですか?
Then you'll wear one if I make you a normal one?
考えてあげるだけです。
I'll only consider it.
もっともそれを着ようなどと心が迷う可能性は私があなたの嫁になるくらいに限りなく絶無の低確率ですが。
Though the possibility of me having a change of heart in this matter is as infinitesimally low as the odds I would marry you.
Eh?
Huh? Why would you say that, Hanya? You're gonna get this guy all in a tizzy. No, I was only given an example of an absolute impossibility. When I realized what I unintentionally blurted out, I grew just as speechless as Riku. What the hell kind of nonsense am I blurting?
羽生?
Hanyu?
話はそれで終わりです。
This conversation is over.
私は庭の掃除をしてきますから、リクはさっさと昼食の準備を。
I'll go and clean the garden, so you get to work on making lunch right away. I looked away to hide my flushed face and quickly left the living room. My heart was pounding so fiercely that it nearly broke out of my chest. Anyway, I'll go outside and get some fresh air to cool my head and my face off. It was with that thought that I made a break for the highest point on the grounds at top speed. This guy.
羽生.
Hanyu. Oh man. This guy. Wow, it's so wacky. You know, maybe we're just in a wacky little patch here of the story. It started so very serious, you know? But I have reason to believe that we're not, and I think this is gonna be I think this is gonna be the misadventures of now named Hanyu and Riku. And that's what we're getting in this story. So strap in. It might be all downhill from here. It would only be fitting to go out like this with the whole Higurashi series. 2 years of reading Higurashi. If we go out like this. Alright. That's gonna do it for the stream. We'll head out for the night. Thanks for watching. Tomorrow should be probably Silk Song. If I start early enough, I'm toying around with the idea. I have something Spooktober related that I think is pretty short. I think it's like less than an hour. I might tack that on to the beginning of the stream, is the plan, is the hope. But again, that kind of depends, assuming I don't start too late tomorrow night. But main thing will be Silk Song as we delve deeper into that. Surely there's not much more Silk Song left, right? Question mark? So that's the plan, and then obviously no streams on Thursday. Unless I find some hidden time that I've done the last couple weeks. I found some either before or after my normal Thursday night stuff, so who knows? Who knows? But yeah, until tomorrow, have a nice rest of your night. Take it easy, stay safe, stay well. I'll see you in another stream.